Hello, everybody. Yes, it is a crisis. But it is a crisis that I am aware of. Thank goodness. So I have my CSV that has links to all the stuff. All I gotta do is just feed them into a program that'll download everything for me. And then I should be Gucci, hopefully. Hi, Yubi. How are you doing? Gotta get Aiden in here. Oh, I think Aiden's in here. Okay, cool. Hello, everybody. Hi. So yes, with that out of the way, it is time. It is finally time. Y'all remember May's crush? The story we finished off last time? Well, as promised, today we begin the sequel. It is a tale fraught with danger, love, and perhaps maybe a little bit too much water, but it is great just the same. Hi, Aiden. Hi, Orville. I actually, not gonna lie, and I almost thought you slapped me for a second, but then I read the name. I was like, oh, okay. That's just Orville being Orville. How are y'all doing? Glad to see you all here. Especially you, Aiden, because because as much of a Poke nerd you are, I really want you to be here for this. I am so glad all of you are here too. I'm doing well, Orville. I have been doom scrolling quite a bit because of recent events, but I'm hanging in there. The kitties are here. Oh, Kiki's lying on the vent here, and she's staring at me. Hi, Kiki. Hi. I love that little goober. You thought I slapped you? You thought you slapped me too? Oh my gosh. Insert flame. You mean GIF? You mean GIF? Stormbite, you mean GIF? You saw Mrs. Dogfire? Oh yeah, that's right. You did say you were watching that last time. What'd you think? And all 3 How to Train Your Dragon movies recently. Nice. What did you think of all of them? And when are you gonna watch all 3 Sonic movies? Gotta say, Sonic 3, peak. Absolutely peak. But yeah, May's Crush Final Frontier, everybody. I am excited for this. I'm excited. This has been a long time coming. Because I've spent a lot of time going through it, creating an appropriate OST, and by an appropriate OST I mean one that, you know, has a lot of Kingdom Hearts music and stuff, but it's an OST that I like. So y'all are gonna enjoy it or just deal with it. Currently fighting for your you're currently fully attended once your conquest is complete. Leave no rebel alive. I can't do a Darth Vader voice. If only James Earl Jones were still here to pass on the knowledge of how to do it over to me. But alas. He's hanging out with Mufasa. And the other greats. Everyone Robin Williams movie. Really? And a fantastic movie for How to Train Your Dragon. You've seen the first 2 Sonic movies, but not the third one. Oh, Orville, you need to see the third one. It is peak. They handle Shadow so well in that one. It's so good. But yeah, rip the goat for real, for real. You absolutely hate to see it. Oh, and I realized I didn't actually do the... Oh, I guess I did it for this, but not the... Okay. Okay. Conquest is complete. You are fully here now. Let's go. Let us go. You know what that means?
You know what that means? Fish!
Yeah, fish. It means fish. But also... it has this. We have this. All right, gather around the fireplace, everybody. Let's gather around the campfire and sing our campfire song. Our CAMPFIRESONG song. And if you don't think that we can sing it faster, then you're wrong. But it'll help if you just sing along. Okay, I'm not singing the rest of that. Not singing the rest of that, even though it's CAMPFIRESONG song. CAMPFIRESONG song. Okay. All right. Now then, it is time. It is time. Who is ready for greatness? Who is ready for greatness? I hope y'all are ready. Because let me tell you, it took me a while to come up with to read all this and come up with a good soundtrack for this. But I am very pleased with the result, especially at the parts where I wrote, which will be coming significantly later. We're far off from that. But that said, I still look forward to it immensely. I miss the iconic Patrick coming in with the bum, bum, bum. So, see, I didn't miss it so much as I couldn't do both SpongeBob and Patrick at the same time. And at that point, I was already committed to doing that last note for SpongeBob, and I thought, it would sound weird if I just switched to boom. If I went it like, it'll help if you just sing a la boom, boom, boom. But anyway. I did it for the song. But hey, you know what? You know what? We're all good. We sang the song. Usually just send it when you do stuff like that. I mean, yeah, usually I do it too, but I felt like, just boo, you stink! Mixing it up a bit. Thank you, Orville. Thank you, Orville. I appreciate you. And yes, although yes, I probably do stink. But anyway, let us begin. The sequel to Maze Crush. Maze Crush Final Frontier by PikamasterADV. Chapter 1. Farewell. And here is a link to the first chapter. So here's the thing. Okay. I should probably state this. So also I created an out of character thing at the top left, so I'll be turning that on whenever I'm actually not speaking in character or like reading the story out loud. I'm actually talking to all of you. So this story was delisted from fanfic.net. The author took it down. But it still exists elsewhere! So that's why you're gonna have a few different links. Only this one leads to the first chapter. The other chapters will be in the Cerulean.net forums, where that was also posted. So yeah, just so you're aware, yes, this is normal. Yes, I did have to go to great lengths to try to find everything intact. But hey, you're not gonna, if you don't look at the link, you're not gonna notice a difference anyway. So, yeah. Okay, here we go. Chapter 1, Farewell. Blaziken! Blaze Kick! May shouted to her starter Pokemon. Sceptile! Slam! Ash countered. The two powerful Pokemon crashed their strikes against each other. Sceptile successfully broke Blaziken back. Both trainers' points took a hit. Sceptile! Leaf Blade! Blaziken! Sky Uppercut! His blades glowing, Sceptile lunged at Blaziken, who had leapt up into midair, clashing her fists against his blades. The counter-strike proved effective, forcing the other Pokemon to stand down. Again, Ash and May both lost points. Blaziken Overheat! They ordered an attack that could finish the match. Sceptile Solar Beam! Ash pulled out his most powerful move. Both Pokemon readied their moves and leapt at each other, the powerful Overheat and Solar Beam colliding in the air. A massive explosion overtook both the fully evolved Pokemon, clouding who had won the match. And so, May recalled in her mind just exactly how the events had led up to this encounter. I hit the wrong button. But yeah, this is quite the in medias res to start with, huh? Isn't it? Isn't it? It really is. I agree. I agree. But anyway. It was late in the day in the Kanto region, but Ash had never felt brighter. The Palette native had just conquered the battle frontier by defeating Brandon and his Regice, using a team comprised of his 3 Kanto starter Pokemon, plus Pikachu, and won his final frontier symbol. After being awarded a victory plaque with his 7 symbols embossed on it, Scott offered Ash the ability to become a frontier braid. No thank you, Scott, Ash told the large man. I'm going to travel more. Pokemon contests don't stick around in one location, so if I'm gonna stay with May, I'd better keep moving as well. Ash, the girl said, smiling at him. Really? Turning it down for me? The raven-haired boy affixed his auburn eyes on the girl he loved. Of course, May, he said under her bright sapphire eyes. You're more important than a title. So I see, Scott said, a depressed look on his face behind his sunglasses. Is there any way to get you to reconsider? No, Ash said, shaking his head. I'm sorry, Scott, but it's just not in the cards for me. The large man put his hands in his bright Hawaiian print shirt. I guess it can't be helped, he shrugged. Do you have any plans on where you and your beloved girlfriend are traveling next? May blushed at the implication of being lovely. We haven't really decided yet, she said, spinning her black and white gloved fingers around each other as she smiled. At the end of each glove was a green ring around her wrist. We were going to hang around Palette for a while so we could search for a new place to go. I hope you have a good trip back to Palette. I hope we meet again. Max became downtrodden, his glasses falling to the edge of his nose. Brock placed his hand on the smaller boy's shoulder. Max knew that as soon as they got to the port, his adventure with his sister and their friends would be over. He kept it to himself, hoping that May would tell the group before then so he wouldn't have to. That was a few days ago. Okay. So, you know, we're leaning into it a little bit. We're leaning in a little bit. And yes, as Ash should. And you wish that were me? I wish it were me too! I wish it were you too. And me. I wish it were me. And us. But yes. So, okay, so it's a bit about it. So as you can see, it's a bit of amount of time since May's crush ended. So it's been a little bit. So Ash had already beat Brandon, which is cool. So it looks like we're going to be, but it looks like as well that the timelines still seem to have converged a little bit into the anime timeline before, well, let's say things are gonna be diverging a bit here. If you know what I mean. May went to buy a ticket for Max to travel back to Hoenn, but kept it under wraps, not wanting to deflate her boyfriend's ego he had developed from defeating the the battle frontier. While the group traveled around the bustling port, they spotted a poster for a local Pokemon contest. Oh, look, guys! A Pokemon contest! I'm gonna enter! The girl was ecstatic. I've needed some practice, and this contest will be perfect! But sis, Max tried to remind her. We can talk later, Max, May hushed him. I want to enter this contest! I'll enter too! May, Brock, and Max all turned their heads to see Ash and his partner Pikachu looking at the poster. Ash? May tilted her green bandana-clad head to the side. Why are you gonna enter the contest? Ash leaned his lithe body backwards. Well, I just happen to have won the battle frontier. The egotistical boy smirched from under his red and black hat. So I guess I'll just bless this Pokemon contest with my amazing Pokemon training skills. Hey, Pikachu! The yellow electric Pokemon cocked his hand backwards in an affirmative position. Oh, brother, the older breeder sighed. And I thought his head couldn't get bigger. Besides, Ash added, you're always saying how we need to do more stuff together, May. May stood in her primarily red and green outfit. That's true, but I just wish... But just because you're my boyfriend, don't think I'm gonna go easy on you. Ash smirked, clad in his blue sweatshirt and baggy jeans. I wouldn't expect any less from you, May. They entered the contest and appealed. Because it was such a small contest, only 2 trainers were chosen to advance to the battle round. And thanks to an ingenious appeal courtesy of Pikachu, Ash was able to advance. May relied on her Eevee and established contact experience to see her through, making a boyfriend versus girlfriend match in the finals. Ash and May were out warming their Pokemon up when Jessie, James, and Meowth, the infamous Team Rocket trio, appeared and attempted to steal all of the Pokemon that entered the contest. Note, however, that this calm, peaceful music is still playing, so there's no actual threat. Through the quick work of Ash's Sceptile and May's Combuskin, however, their plan was thwarted. Because of course it was. However, during the battle, May's Combuskin began to glow, and she evolved, leaving Sceptile duly impressed by her new Blaze Kick technique. Psyched even more for the battle, Ash and May entered the battle arena from opposite sides. May the best coordinator win, May said, bringing her boyfriend from across the stadium. Better be careful, May, Ash returned. I've seen your contests, and I know how to be a winning coordinator. After all, I've helped you from the start of your journey. The smoke back in the present day. The smoke was clearing as the buzzer sounded for the contest battle. The time was up, and Sceptile and Blaziken fell from their conflict in the middle of the air, landing, facing each other, the fatigue of the battle apparent on their faces. Sceptile shot a smile at his opponent, catching Blaziken off guard before she smiled back at him. The smoke cleared, showing that Ash and May both had the same amount of points remaining. The display changed to show both of them as the winners. The couple was surprised at the decision, but ended up smiling to each other. Ash and May, both standing alongside their Pokemon, smiled as the crowd cheered for the excellent battle. The judge, a middle-aged man with brown hair, stood to present Ash and May with the winner's ribbon. Congratulations to both of you for a spectacular battle, he said to them, stepping closer with a case. Unfortunately, he added as he opened it, We've only got one ribbon, so I guess you'll two will have to do some kind of joint ownership. Ash looked at it for a second and thought. I have an idea, he said, smiling. He took the ribbon from the box, tossed it into the air. Subtile, cut it in half with Leaf Blade! His large reptilian Pokemon smirked, leaping into the air and severing the ribbon down the middle. Ash and May ran under the falling parts and both caught one. Ash and May both caught the falling parts as Subtile landed frighteningly close to the judges. Standing side by side, the opponent struck a pose, holding the ribbon so that it would appear full. I got a ribbon! They both shouted in triumph. To which Pikachu added, with a P Pikachu, of course. The sun was setting at the port as Brock placed the food on their plates. They sat to Max on one side, the boy fidgeting uneasily. Ash, unaware, smiled at all their Pokemon as they ate happily. A red crustacean stepped close to a small turtle. Corfish! He held out his claw. Squirtle! The turtle responded, shaking it. Corfish and Squirtle began to strike up a conversation, the former telling the latter jokes. Pikachu sat alongside a purple Pokemon with a long tail that tormented him by tapping him on the shoulder and pretending not to know. Pikachu glared at the monkey Pokemon for a moment and continued eating. To his left, as opposed to his right, where the monkey actually was, sat a small canine Pokemon whom Pikachu started off a friendship with recently, seeing as their trainers were a couple now. While the small one always seemed full of friendship for the electric type, Pikachu always saw Gary's Eevee, who had defeated him when he saw the species. Pikachu sighed, hoping he wouldn't become too much more like Ash. To Eevee's left sat May's pink feline Pokemon, who had already finished eating and was napping happily in the sunset. A larger, gluttonous Pokemon snuck by and stole the little bits of food that she had left in her bowl. After licking the feline's bowl clean, the glutton snuck around looking for his next victim, and another way to steal more food. He knew, however, not to try anything with Blaziken. Even before her evolution, he had been disciplined by the fire and fighting type for trying to steal food in the past. So he only watched from a distance and drooled for a moment at her food as she lazily popped another kernel in her mouth, relaxing next to Sceptile, who sat in meditation, having already finished his meal. The hungry Pokemon looked about as allies for an easy target. The powerful elephant Pokemon glanced over at him, letting the smaller Pokemon know that his visit would not be appreciated. Next to the stocky, powerful elephant was a bagworm, encased in a steel shell. His gaze also narrowed at the Watcher, who smiled back and turned around, surely depressed at his lack of easy targets. Meanwhile, a moderately sized blue Pokemon watched from a distance at Sceptile and Blaziken. He rubbed his feet against the ground as he watched them from a distance. He cursed his shy ways and returned to sitting in the grass by himself. He looked up to the sky to see two flying Pokemon circling overhead. He chuckled to himself. One of them was a butterfly. Hey, Marsh Tom, Brock called for him. You want to help yourself to some of these leftovers? The blue Pokemon smiled as he stepped over to Brock. The breeder could tell that his water and ground Pokemon was feeling a bit lovelorn, so he tried to cheer him up. May watched her boyfriend eat with some kind of morbid fascination, similar to the kinds that made her watch wild Pokemon attack each other on television when her brother elbowed her in the side. May, he pleaded, please tell him. All right, Max, she sighed, not wanting to send him off. She turned to the table. Hey, guys. Ash looked up, his mouth full of noodles. Brock fixed his gaze on her as he sat down. I've been talking to my parents, she explained. Max's 10th birthday is coming up pretty soon, and Dad wanted me to send him back to Hoenn so he could become a trainer. That's great, Max! Ash said, smiling while swallowing his noodles. You've always wanted to have your own Pokemon. No, it's not, Max sighed, slipping off the fold-up chair and stepping away from the table. What did I say? Ash said, becoming slightly confused. May looked at him from across the table. He doesn't want to leave the group, Ash. We're not going with him. It was then that Ash began to understand. Oh. He left the table and followed Max, who had wandered further into the park they had set up their dinner. Saw the boy swinging by his lonesome on the rusty swing set. Hey, Max. I'm sorry I didn't think about you not wanting to leave. It's alright, Ash. Max looked at the dirt from underneath. I really wanted to have my starter Pokemon for a long time, but now I don't really want to leave you guys. You're all the best friends I've ever had. Even if one of them is my sister. Ash sat on the swing next to the one Max was sitting. We've had quite the adventure, haven't we? He looked up the sky, which was tinted orange as the sun began to set. You've been a good friend, Max. I don't really want to see you go either. But if your dream takes you away from your friends, then we shouldn't stand in your way. You want to be the Petalburg gym leader someday, right? Max smiled. Yeah, I've always wanted to succeed my dad as the gym leader. I guess I won't be able to prove to him that I can be a great trainer if I keep following you around, will I? Max! May called as she stepped into the park, with Brock following closely behind. I really don't want you to go. You know as well as I do that I have to, sis, he said, trying to keep her spirits up by smiling. May threw her arms around her brother. I know, she cried silently. But I'm really gonna miss you. I love you, Max. I love you too, May, he said, returning his sister's affections. She stood up and rubbed her eyes dry. I wanted to give you something for your journey, to remember me by. She then began fishing something out of her pack. You don't have to give me anything, sis, he said, embarrassed. I insist. I think you'll need this. She took out a Pokeball and handed it over to him. The thought's nice and all, May, Max said, clearly underwhelmed, but Professor Birch will give me some Pokeballs. That's Squirtle's Pokeball, she said. What? You're giving me your Squirtle? May nodded, tears in her sapphire eyes. I know how much you love Pokemon, and I wanted to be the one who gave you your first. Thank you, sis! He hugged her tightly as she leaned down and took him in again. You're the best sister ever! Just make sure you let him see a contest every once in a while, Max, she choked out. I'm gonna miss you so much, little brother. I'm gonna miss you too, May, he sobbed. I don't know when we'll be able to see each other again. I'll take good care of Squirtle. Come on, guys, Brock said, placing his hands on each other's shoulders. Let's get finished eating one last meal as a team. The brother and sister broke apart and walked back to the picnic table, tears sliding down their smiling faces. They sat, spoke of their great adventures together. Max remembered fondly of his encounter with Jirachi, while May spoke mostly of Manaphy. Ash remembered the fallen Lucario fondly, and Brock reminisced to the group about all the girls he had lost during their journey. Max made an off-color joke about how Brock couldn't have lost any girls because he never got any. While the breeder sighed at the boy's observation, Ash and May enjoyed Max's razor-sharp wit for what would be the last time for a while. After finishing their meal, Brock began to pack Max for his trip back to Littleroot, Professor Birch's laboratory. The boy held Squirtle in his arms. May had discussed going with Max to Squirtle in private, even Ash was unaware, and the Kanto water type agreed to go with him. Max slipped the Pokeball into his pocket and thought fondly of his sister. Ash felt like he had to give something to Max as well. He quickly tore through his backpack, looking for some sort of memento to give his girlfriend's brother. Ash certainly thought more of Max than just his girlfriend's brother. He and Max had become very close in their travels, and he was going to miss the lad as well. Not finding anything he was willing to part with, he sighed and dropped back, placing his hands on his head. He was then struck with inspiration. Max turned to see Ash handing him his red and black cap. Here, Ash said, smiling at him. You'll need something to cover your eyes when it gets really bright. Ash! Max took the hat, held it in his hands, dropping Squirtle, who stood next to his new trainer. You've done so much for me. I couldn't. Take it, Max. You've done some pretty brave stuff during our adventure. You deserve it. Max smiled and put the hat on his head. Squirtle leapt to his shoulder as May and Brock approached him, and May presented him with his pack. We've got it all ready for you to go, she said, smiling, yet still fighting back tears. Thank you, May, he said, doing the exact same thing. I've made you a snack, Max. Brock then handed him a small covered bowl. Place a metallic fork and knife onto it, and you'll need these to eat it. Max took the food in his free hand. Thanks a lot, Brock. Take it easy, Max, May mothered him. Don't push yourself too hard. I won't, May. The boat then pulled into port. Ash, May, and Brock watched the boy begin to walk away towards it. May cried silently, watching her brother leave her. Ash took her hand as his, trying to ease her distress about him leaving. The boy stopped walking, and then eventually turned back to his friends with tears in his eyes. He ran back into... And turning back to his friends with tears in his eyes, he ran back into his sister's arms. The others all held Max in a group hug, unsure when they would have the opportunity to do so again. But with that, he set off to board the ship once again. Then, as the ship pulled out from port, Max and Squirtle waved to Ash, May, and Brock, and all of the Pokemon who watched them go. Ash resumed holding her hand to prevent her from losing her composure. As the ship disappeared from view, Pikachu sighed, depressed from having to have watched another friend leave. Yeah. Yep. That's May's giving him her Squirtle. Man. Oh. I know, it's sad, man. This really just kind of exemplifies how crazy it is that 10 years old is of age to travel the country / world on your own. I mean, it is, but also it's also just kind of... But also, it's crazy that they have socialized healthcare and we don't, so I mean, to an extent, it's like... to an extent, it's like, they do a lot of cool stuff that I wish that we could only dream of being able to do, you know what I mean? Like, the world just seems so much cooler, but also a whole lot more dangerous if you think about it. Because, you know, the world was close to coming to an end more than once. You know? And it was thanks to all of these goobers to stop that from happening. Multiple times! But yes. The remainder of the evening was spent in relative silence. After recalling their Pokemon, Ash, May, and Brock set up camp in the park. Although he was normally uncomfortable with close sleeping arrangements, Ash allowed May to lay her sleeping bag next to his, to comfort her since her brother had left. Brock slept on May's other side, to make sure she felt surrounded by her friends. They set up the camp that night. As they set up camp that night, Brock told May that it was hard for him the first 2 weeks he was out being away from his brothers and sisters. The story comforted her as the boys drifted off to sleep. Feeling lonely, she looked over to the sleeping bag, complete with Pikachu sleeping in his lap, and watched him sleep for a moment. Slowly, she unzipped her sleeping bag to allow her arms freedom of movement. She reached over and unzipped Ash's sleeping bag to reveal his chest. May felt his cheeks light up as the boy returned to his sleep away from her. Scooting closer, she wrapped one of her arms around him, holding him close for comfort during her sleep. She smiled as she let herself fall asleep, holding Ash in her arms. When he awoke in the morning, Brock looked over and saw that May had wrapped her arms around Ash. He sighed. It was a sight that was becoming too common to him. All the young couple reminded him of his own lovelorn life. He tried to make the best of it today, though, because today he was leaving too. Ash yawned as he turned over to see May's sleeping face. Startled at first, he listened to her snore quietly and smelled her breath. He slipped out of her goose grip and stood up. Pikachu yawned as well and began to stretch. May rolled over in her sleep, continuing to do so soundly. Ash couldn't really couldn't help but thinking about just how cute she looked while she slept. The smell of food, however, proved to be a stronger lure, as he found himself walking over to Brock. Hey, that smells really good, Brock, he complimented. What's the occasion? Nothing, really, Brock lied. He knew he'd have to make it as quick and painless as possible after what happened with Mac yesterday. Soon after, May woke up, and the group released their Pokemon, and all had what, under normal circumstances, would be an uneventful morning. Brock smiled to himself, enjoying the interactions between Ash and May as they competed to see who would could eat the most of Brock's cooking before they were too full to eat anymore. The Pokemon were fed, with Brock's own Pokemon knowing only as much as Ash, May, and the rest of the Pokemon did. They packed up camp and began heading down the road. Ash gloated over his win against May that morning, but the girl didn't seem to mind. Although she took measures to deflate his ego when she felt it was too large. More significantly, Ash and May looked at the ribbon they'd split, each happy that they could share a win in battle together. Brock allowed them to remain blissfully unaware. He knew it would be hard to say goodbye if they knew he was leaving. The group came to a fork in the road. As Ash and May began turning down the fork to the south, Brock stood still. This is it, guys, he told them. I'll be leaving here. Ooh. Ash and May were shocked. What? I've got to visit my family in Pewter, he told him. I told them I would after every adventure in our journey through the Battle Frontier ended not too long ago. May stepped backwards. Not just Max, but Brock too? Why didn't you tell us you had to leave? If I told you, Brock explained, you would have been more upset, and it would have ruined your day. And as your honorary big brother, I can't let that happen. Ash's expression darkened as Pikachu let out a sad coo from his trainer's shoulder. I'm gonna miss you, Brock, Ash said to his longtime traveling partner. He held out his hand to him. He smiled. Same here, Ash. And depending on where you two decide to go, I might be able to join you. So unlike Max's, my departure might only be temporary. He took Ash's hand and gave him a firm handshake. May placed her hand on theirs. She smiled, tears in her eyes. I don't know what to say, Brock, except that you better get back to us as soon as possible. He smiled to her as a single tear slid down her face. Don't cry, May. I'll have to come back someday. I mean, who'll feed you and Ash? Instant Nobbin can only take you so far. Hey, Instant Nobbin can take me plenty far, May retorted, smiling. Brock broke the interlinked hands. And with that, I bid you adieu. He bowed like a gentleman and stepped away, and then began to walk up the road to the Pewter. Ash and May waved to him for a bit before heading south towards Pallet Town. Pikachu sighed as he saw Brock leaving. In a certain normal type Pokemon shaped balloon overhead, a trio plus 2 psychic Pokemon watched through binoculars. Parting is such sweet sorrow, the woman sighed. But Pikachu is much sweeter, the man followed up. I prefer lemon in my tea, the Pokemon said. Wah, Buffett! Mime! And that is chapter 1. So you can see why this chapter is called Farewell. So, yeah. Unusual title, but it's appropriate, considering, you know. But hey, so, you know, it happens, Some things just must come to an end, you know what I mean? And not these dinguses again, I know, right? Will they ever just give it a rest? I don't know, man. Sometimes I wonder if it would just be better if Ash... Sometimes I wonder if it would be better if Ash didn't defeat Team Rocket at the Cerulean City Pokemon Center in Episode 2, Season 1. Like, I don't know, like, think about it. If he didn't do that, they wouldn't be on his case. But then we wouldn't have a trio as hilarious as them, like being absolute goobers. You know what I mean? Because honestly, I love Team Rocket. They're so funny. They're evil, but they're funny. So I think it's a sacrifice worth taking. Okay. Yeah, we'd never have comic relief without them. Exactly. And let me tell you, there is more comic relief to be had with them. But for now, Chapter 2. And with that, a link to the archive. To the other place where he posted it and mostly did not touch it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, PikamasterADV, for not touching most of this. Chapter 2, in our pallet town. Ash and May walked down the path, truly alone together for the first time since they decided to become boyfriend and girlfriend. Without Max always watching them to make sure they didn't cut out the mushy stuff, nor with Brock there to keep them on track, they didn't really know what to do with themselves. So they walked in silence. Ash felt a tension between them, one so strong that he had to break it. So, it's been a long time since we've been in Pallet, huh? Yeah, they replied, seemingly distracted. I wonder how your mother's doing. Last time we saw her was in Cerulean during the incident. I'm sure she's doing fine. I can't wait for a home-cooked meal. Your mom is a good cook, May remembered. As she said as she remembered the meal she ate before Ash began his tour on the battle frontier. I'm getting hungry already, and it hasn't even been an hour since we left Brock. How can you tell? I took the Pokénav with him to Hoenn, remember? May sighed. Oh yeah. I hope we don't get lost. Without a map, who knows where we'd end up? Don't worry, I remember this road, he told her. And if I recall correctly, he said as he reached the top of he said as he reached the top of the hill. Pallet Town is just over there! He shouted as they stood above his hometown. Wait. That's the wrong song. Yep, okay. Yep, wrong song. Okay. Yep. Alright. Okay, for some reason, all the sticky notes are, like, so out of position. It makes no sense. But, you know what? Okay, we're doing this. Also, Stego! How are you doing? Stego! How are you doing? How you doing, Stego? Also, wait, I also just realized the out of character marker has been up for a while. So, ignore that, please. Ignore the thing that you shouldn't ignore. Actually, I should probably keep that up if I'm still talking. How are you doing, Stego? You're doing good. I'm glad you're doing well. You didn't miss too much, just the first chapter. I don't know if you want me to... Actually, you know what? I'm not going to spoil it. You can watch the VOD if you want. The VOD will be posted. Although I should probably post the remaining VODs for the original Maze Crush, shouldn't I? Yeah, I should probably do that. I keep forgetting, man. I keep forgetting. But I'm glad to hear you stop in as well, Stego. Don't worry, I remember this road, he told her. And if I remember correctly, he said as he reached the top of the hill, Pallet Town is just over there! He shouted as they stood above his hometown. Ash was happy to come home every time between adventures. His warm bed waited for him, as did his mother, Professor Oak, and most of all, the Pokemon he left there. I can't wait to get there, he said, grinning. Come on, May, let's race to my house! Wait, Ash! She called. Can we just walk together like a regular couple? But it was too late to reach him as he bolted down towards his house. Begrudgingly, May began to chase after him, ready to give him a piece of her mind when she caught up with him. Ash waited for the winded May as she staggered into Ash's front lawn. Why did you wait up for me? She asked, panting. I told you it was a race. Ash sneered at her, proud of his accomplishment. And I won, too. Oh, well, whoop-de-doo, May said, spinning her index finger in the air. I'm bushed. Let's get inside so I can rest. Ash knocked on the door before opening it. He and May stepped inside, slipping off their shoes and stepping into the house. Mom! Ash called out. We're home! No sounds, however, came from the building. I wonder where she went. Well, why don't we wait here to see if she comes back? And if not, May suggested, we'll check at Professor Oak's laboratory when we go let our Pokemon rest in his ranch. Ash smiled at the idea. That sounds good. Hey, why don't we go up to my room? You've never seen it, have you? Oh, Ash, May said, fluttering her eyelids. I didn't know you wanted to go all the way so soon. Ash turned bright red. I didn't mean it like that, he shouted, flustered. May giggled and waved him down. Calm down, I was just kidding. Let's go upstairs then. Grumbling at his girlfriend's sense of humor, Ash led May up the stairs in his house to his room. A single bed sat in the corner, the window positioned so that the morning sun would shine on whoever was sleeping there. Across the room on the wall hung Ash's official Pokemon League hat, next to his older vest. Surprisingly to May, Ash had a study desk, but upon closer examination, she realized that the desk wasn't used for studying. On the wall above the desk hung 3 moderately sized picture frames, with a smaller frame under the middle. May looked at them and saw that each of them had 8 gym badges inside the glass. She recognized which set was the Kanto badges by comparing the Cascade badge that she got from Misty to the ones that Ash won. Next to the frame containing the Kanto badges was a picture of Ash, Pikachu, and 5 of his other Pokemon, along with a trophy that, after looking down, sat on his desk under a layer of dust. In the picture frame under the framed picture there were 4 badges that May couldn't identify from where they came. The set of unidentifiable badges she saw to the left of the seashell badges must have been from Johto, seeing as she's never seen a Johto gym badge. On the desk, sitting out in the open and also becoming dusty, were Ash's 8 Hoenn gym badges. Ash opened his pack and set his Frontier Victory plaque next to it. I guess my mom hasn't framed my Hoenn League badges yet, he laughed. May never took the time to look at Ash's badges, especially considering how protective he was of them when he needed them to enter the Hoenn League. But now, seeing them all here, she found them rather pretty. Almost like a jewelry collection, she took to herself. I never noticed before, but your gym badges are all really pretty. You think so? Ash asked. They picked up the badge case and rolled the chair at the desk over into the sunlight. She saw that a fine layer of dust had settled on them. Reaching into her fanny pack, she pulled out a small cloth and wiped off the dust. She smiled as the silver balance badge shined to her. It was her father's gym badge, the one Ash had won back in Hoenn. She closed her eyes and remembered the battle. She also remembered taking Ash's side in the gym battle, even though Brock warned her to be neutral. I'm glad I took Ash's side, she thought, smiling at the boy as he relaxed with Pikachu on the bed. I might have to compete in the next league if we go to if the badges are all so pretty, May joked, while shining the balance badge further. Yeah, and I'll do Pokemon contests, Ash laughed back at her. Pikachu and I can go winning ribbons. Hey, you weren't too bad at that contest we were in recently, she said, with a wink. You did manage to tie against a coordinator who's gotten top 4 of her second Grand Festival. Oh, well, in that case, Ash added, you should enter the next league since you tied with a trainer who just beat the Battle Frontier. The couple had a good laugh. May smiled at the boy, his dark hair tossing about his head. Are you gonna get a new hat since you gave your old one to Max? She asked. Ash pondered that for a moment. Well, I have my old Pokemon League hat. I guess I could wear that. She stepped over to him and ran her head through his hair. I don't think you should, she said, smiling. I kind of like your hair without a hat. Ash blushed slightly at the remark. Oh. I always keep forgetting you like fanfiction too, and it's great every time you remember. Oh yeah, baby! Yep, I do. And I've written a few myself, and I even wrote the last few chapters of this one when the author didn't finish it. So we'll be reading that, and y'all get to see some of the fruits of my labor. Yeah. Okay, where was I? Ash blushed slightly at her remark. You think so? He looked up at her and saw that she smiled and nodded, messing up his always tangled hair even further. I guess I could go without a hat for a while. May giggled. I just hope I don't get the urge to comb it for you. If I do, you might start to look less like the Ash I love so much. She packed his hair with her lips, causing him to turn even more crimson. Oh, Ash, honey! They heard his mother from downstairs calling. I see your shoes are here. I hope you're not doing anything in a room that you're not supposed to. Oh, Ash! May called out, her voice dripping in sarcasm. Help me get my clothes on! Ash's face became red and angry as May darted out of the room, giggling like a little schoolgirl. We're not doing anything, Mom! Don't listen to me! He called out to the woman downstairs. He calmed himself down and took Pikachu to his shoulder before leaving the room. He stepped down the stairs to see his mother, dressed in her raquiste pink blouse and blue skirt, giggling alongside May, who held her sides, chuckling. What's so funny? He belted out, irritated. Oh, honey, Ash's mother said, trying to catch her breath. May and I are just having a laugh. Yeah, Ash smiled through her teeth. Real great joke. May stepped over to him, grinning widely. Oh, come on, Ash. You know I was just kidding, right? Well, I didn't think it was very funny, he spat. Ash's mother's eyes widened. I think I have some things to put in the cabinets, she muttered, quickly stepping out of the room. Did you really get that hurt by my joke? May's voice held raised concern. She sat down on the couch and beckoned him to come sit with her. Yeah, Ash said under his breath, dissatisfied with himself for raising his voice at her as he sat next to her. I guess I just don't think it's so funny to joke about that kind of thing. May took his hand in one of hers, stroked the back of it with her other. I'm sorry, Ash, she said, a regretful smile shining forth from her eyes. I didn't mean to offend you with it. Ash took the hand May was stroking his hand with in his other hand. That's all right. Just don't do it again, okay? You can count on it. She planted a small peck on his cheek. Well, now that your mom's back, why don't we go do something in town? She suggested. Well, why don't we head down to Professor Oak's lab and drop off her Pokemon? He suggested. I'm sure they'd like the time to be outside their Pokeballs. Sounds like a good idea, Ash, she said, putting her finger to her chin. Do you think that after that we could go do something together? Sure, I don't see why not. Ash and May bid his mother goodbye before they set down the road to Professor Oak's lab. May had almost forgotten the large staircase leading to the esteemed researcher's home before now. Sighing as Ash led the charge up the stone steps, May begrudgingly followed up, keeping up with the boy on whom Pikachu hung. Ash hurriedly knocked on the door, hopping up and down with excitement. May, on the other hand, merely wiped the sweat from her forehead. Ash had seemingly a bottomless well of energy from which he could draw during moments of extreme enthusiasm. While May herself was in better shape since she began her Pokemon journey, she still didn't really like walking too far without taking a rest. She sighed, supposing that perhaps she was maybe too pampered by her father. An old man opened the door, grinning happily. Ash! May! It's great to see you, he said. I didn't know that you two were back in town. You like writing and reading fanfics, but you can never finish writing anything. Beginnings are hard. Yeah, honestly, both of those things are really hard. Really. Very hard. Like, I don't know. It takes a lot of effort to write and write well at that. So I feel ya, for sure. We just got back recently, Professor Oak, Ash said, hopping uncontrollably. Well, we wanted to leave our Pokemon with you while we stayed in Pallet. Oh, well, by all means. The famous Pokemon professor stepped out of their way as Ash zipped into the building past him. May walked in a bit more calmly than her boyfriend did. By the time she had stepped into Oak's immense backyard, Ash had already found many of his Pokemon. A small blue crocodile hopped joyfully around the trainer's feet, while a tired-looking echidna yawned and nuzzled his leg. A large, icy Pokemon that looked like a floating head moved close to his master. An obedient orange tortoise smiled and shed tears of joy as he rejoined his beloved trainer. May smiled at the sight. Not without feeling a tiny pang in her own heart. Ash and his Pokemon will always be close, I guess, she thought. I love him, but I guess I'll have to learn to live with this. May reached into her pack and pulled out her 5 Pokeballs. Come on out, everyone! She tossed them in the air, causing them to snap open and revealing her Pokemon. Blaziken stood tall and stretched outside the ball as her teammates appeared around her. The pink kitten Pokemon began running immediately into the grasses close by, followed by the curious brown canine. Her butterfly zoomed into the sky to find a flower garden to relax in, while the ever-hungry Pokemon began to search for a new meal. Now, Skitty, Eevee, you two be careful! She called to them as they ran away. She looked to the sky and shouted, Have fun, Beautifly! Her gaze then turned to the Pokemon who tried to infiltrate her pack. No, Munchlax, you'll eat when the professor feeds you. As Munchlax let out a sigh, Ash turned to his professor. Hey, where's Tracy? He asked. Tracy went to visit Misty in Cerulean City, Oak told him, stepping out into the sun. He's been visiting up there more recently, I've noticed. He had a mischievous look in his eyes. He's also been spending time with Sydney while he's been up there. Ash may recall the rambunctious girl they had met in Cerulean during the incident. After Misty, under Harley's bad influence, had made them veritable felons, the small blue-haired Cindy convinced her mother to let Ash and May stay in their home. Of course, the older woman couldn't turn them down. Ash was Cindy's idol, after all. During their stay, the couple learned that not only was the girl an aspiring artist, but she also had developed a soft spot for May's brother, Max. What they didn't know, and never were able to learn before he left for Hoenn, was whether or not he felt the same for her. The tranquility was interrupted as Ash let out his 5 Pokemon, leaving Pikachu on his shoulder. The powerful grass-type Sceptile placed a twig in his mouth and grinned over at Blaziken, hoping to have a sparring partner in the fire-fighting type. A large bird Pokemon came out and immediately took off into the sky, seemingly to follow May's Beautifly around. Also appearing were the small water-type crustacean Corphish, who was greeted by the dancing crocodile, Donphan, who introduced himself to the Echidna after evolving while traveling with Ash, and the small purple monkey known as Ipom, who hopped onto Ash's shoulder opposite Pikachu. May grinned and stepped closer to him. You're just a king among Pokemon, aren't you? I guess I am, he laughed. But I guess that makes you their queen. Ash and May had a laugh at that, while Pikachu leapt from the boy's shoulder and began calling his comrades around to tell him of the adventures of the battle frontier, as well as Ash and May's new relationship. One of Ash's Pokemon, however, had seen more than enough. I may or may not be switching tabs. May I Daddy's Girl? No! Nah. No. Oh, wait. Oh, here we go. Her red eyes narrowed at the girl her trainer was Anyways, she dug one of her feet against the ground, threatening to charge. When no one noticed her, she growled. Grass-type began charging at May, fury inside her heart. May was completely caught off guard as the Saurian Pokemon tackled her away from Ash. That wasn't good enough for her, however, so she reached for May with vines that extended around her neck. Ash! May leapt out of the way. What's up with your Bayleaf? Bayleaf! Ash called her. Cut it out! However, the stubborn Pokemon refused to listen and reached for May again. Ash knew he had to take action. Cyndaquil! He called the Echidna at his feet. Use Flamethrower on Bayleaf's vines! The sleepy fire type stepped up and flexed his back, causing a fire to start upon it. Channeling this heat and energy through his body, he launched a stream of fire at Bailey's vines that chased May about the area, causing the grass Pokemon to turn her gaze at the traitorous fire mouse. She began charging at Cyndaquil, but the nimble fire type leapt from above Bailey's head, causing her to careen into the crocodile. The water type became angry and shot a powerful blast of water from his mouth at Bailey. Totodile, calm down! Ash tried his best to ease the tensions, but the big jaw Pokemon wouldn't listen and continued to attack Bailey. 4 vines shot out between all of the warring factions, causing trainer and Pokemon alike to look to where it come from. 2 small blue Pokemon stepped closer, each with 2 vines extended. Both had a large green plant bulb on their backs, but had different patterns across their bodies. Bulbasaur! The larger of the 2 Pokemon said, approaching the battlers. He held a stern look in his eyes. Bulba! The smaller of the 2 chimed in, sticking close to the larger one. Grunting, Bailey stopped her attack and backed away from May, jealousy in her eyes. Cyndaquil yawned and let his fire sputter out, and Totodile just fell backwards on the ground, tired from the battle. Thanks, Bulbasaur, Ash smiled with relief. That was getting pretty dicey. Bulba! The grass and poison Pokemon smiled from the praise. Oh? Hang on a moment. What happened to... What happened? He's full hurt. Well, I do not know why. This is not in the list. So, you know what? I am just gonna fix that real quick. Okay. Alright. We should be good now. May stepped over to the Bulbasaur. Well, isn't my little Bulbasaur being so brave? She praised her Pokemon, rubbing the back of her neck. The Bulba! May's Bulbasaur smiled and swayed slightly. Professor, Ash said, as he and May picked up the respective Bulbasaur. Why was Bayleaf acting so funny? Oak put his hand to his chin and thought, I believe Bayleaf is jealous of May. Ash blinked at the implication. Huh? It means that Bayleaf has a crush on you, Ash! May giggled. Bayleaf, blushing with embarrassment, fled away from Ash and the rest of the Pokemon. Bayleaf, wait! He called to her as she ran. Oak stepped up behind him. No, Ash, I'll deal with her. I'll get her acting like her old self again. Ash looked glum. Thanks, Professor, he sighed. May smiled to her grass type. I missed you, Bulbasaur. Have you had fun here with Ash's Bulbasaur? Her Bulbasaur blushed in her trainer's arms and sighed, turning to look at Ash at his, uttering only a single bulb. May's Bulbasaur stared dreamily at Ash's, while the boy's Pokemon conversed with his trainer, causing them both to laugh. She grinned to the Bulbasaur she held. I bet you like Ash's Bulbasaur, huh? The Pokemon blushed and looked away from May. I can tell. I was like that too recently. Take it at your own pace, Bulbasaur. I'm sure he likes you too. With that, May sat Bulbasaur back into the grass. Ash finished his conversation with his Bulbasaur and set him down as well. The boy then took Ipom off his shoulder and placed her down next to Pikachu. The monkey Pokemon seemed confused as to why your trainer removed her from his shoulder. You stay here with the rest of the Pokemon and have fun, Ipom. May and I are gonna go spend some time in town together. May's eyes lit up. You really mean it, Ash? She asked, her voice giddy with excitement. Yeah, I said I would, didn't I? Yay! She cheered. Thank you, Ash! We'll see you later, Professor, Ash told him as they began to leave. He then turned to Pikachu. You have fun with the other Pokemon, okay, Pikachu? Pika! He said, smiling to his trainer. He then darted off to play with his friends that had been staying at the lab. Ash and May then turned and left the ranch, and subsequently the lab. Ipom, however, just watched Ash and May leave, paying no attention to the other Pokemon. She sat, and thought for a moment, then, grinning in her trademark style, darted off into the trees. How is it all their Pokemon are falling in love too? Okay, so this is actually an advanced shipping hint of sorts that advanced shippers love. There was a point, actually, where Ash's Bulbasaur and Mavis Bulbasaur did meet, and it was established that they have a crush on each other. And that was when, and the reason why that's considered a hint is because I believe it was mentioned, at least elsewhere in the anime. I don't know if it was in that same episode or what, but if Pokemon fall in love with, if trainers' Pokemon fall in love with each other, it's quite possible that the trainers would do the same. So, you know, it's it's leaning onto that, you know. Oh, was it? Yes, it was. It's definitely a hint that that advanced shippers love so much. So, you know, it's only natural that PikamasterADV would bring it up, you know. It's been years since you watched the anime. I know, right? I need to watch it again, especially since it's on, like, at least the first 2 seasons are on YouTube. Which I should probably state, not because I should, but mostly just because it's funny. But the only reason I know that is because of a SpongeBob clip that I looked up. You know, the SpongeBob clip where he goes, "What are you waiting for? Can't you see I don't want you anymore? Just get out of here, you stupid, dumb animal!" And then for some reason it was like in my recommended, I was like, oh, okay. So, yeah, that's Mochi lore for you. Mochi lore. Okay, now I just gotta find the next chapter. And I think I found it. All right, chapter 3. In the eye palm of my hand. So, Ash, May said, leaning on them as they walked, what's there to do in Pallet Town? Well, there's really plenty of good places to eat. Ash began. He's led her down the road into the more developed part of town. May giggled. Yeah, if there's anything we know how to do together, it's eating. Ash smiled to himself. I thought we would go to an arcade first. We'd play some games there. We could play some games there. May rolled her eyes as they continued to stroll through town. An arcade? That's nice and all, but she cut herself off as her eyes widened. Oh, did I forget to mention that the only arcade in Pallet is inside this movie theater? Ash chuckled to himself. And for the small town that Pallet was, they had quite the movie theater. A large, hulking building, made of concrete, stood before May. It imposingly cast a shadow enveloping the couple as they stepped closer to it. You're... May tried to get out of her mouth. I was just pulling your leg, Ash said, nudging her bandana. I'm taking you to a movie. That's the reason I asked Pikachu if he would like to stay at Oaks for now. Last time I was here, they wouldn't let Pokemon inside. May, for her part, could only smile and threw herself into Ash's arms. Oh, I love you, Ash! She squealed. No, I'm not a hero yet, he chuckled, giving her a short hug. Let's make sure there's a good movie on. They stepped inside the large glass doors into the lobby. Hanging from a tree on the outside, a small Pokemon growled and shook her tiny fist at the door. The building smelled of buttery popcorn as customers paid for snacks before going off into the theater. The floor was carpeted in red, with tiny black swirls all along it. Ash, trying to decide on a movie, looked at what was playing that wouldn't be too long of a wait. The words were shown on an electronic board behind the counter, where a teenager with oily hair waited for the patrons to choose a movie. I feel like it'd make me too mad to watch again because of all the BS that they let us get away with. Listen, it's a lot better if you consider it just a D&D homebrew, or like an anime based on a D&D homebrew rule set. Then, when you think of it like that, it becomes a lot easier to suspend disbelief. If you go into it knowing about Pokemon mechanics and all that, then yeah, okay, yeah, you're probably gonna have a bit of a bad time. But thinking of it like a D&D campaign is freaking awesome. Like, you can do anything with a nat 20, right? Right? Am I right or am I right? I'm right. I'm right. I'm right. I'm right. They picked up a sheet of paper from a nearby table and began scanning it for movie titles. Do I want a scary movie so I can get Ash to hold me? Nah, I never like scary movies anyway. Huh? She then focused her gaze on one particular movie. What's this? She thought to herself, beginning to read. It was titled, well, I guess it was titled Pokemon Ranger Toumi no Ojo. The subtitle listed it as Pokemon Ranger and the Princess of the Sea. It was a foreign film, but according to the paper listing on the sheet of paper, it was about a handsome young Pokemon Ranger and his encounters with a beautiful girl he only couldn't meet at the edge of the sea. Unknown to him, she was the princess of an underwater kingdom, and her father had a natural distrust of the people who walked on land. Will these young people fight against their prejudices and fall in love? The paper asked her silently. Well, there was only one way to find out. Also, hey, does this sound familiar? Like Grovile 1v1ing a slacking and winning? Come on. Listen, the slacking just had bad rolls. Like, come on. He just had bad rolls. Like, think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Anyway. Also, may I also say, doesn't the synopsis for this movie sound familiar? If it sounds like Pokemon Ranger in the Temple of the Sea, well, you would be wrong. But it does evoke stuff about that too, which, by the way, is also widely considered to be an advanced shipping movie. So, oh, baby, you better believe that's like, you know, a rite of passage. Maybe not a rite of passage, but, you know, it's like a, you know, it's a good time for advanced shippers. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But no, the synopsis sounds kind of like The Little Mermaid, doesn't it? What's this song that's playing right now? Gee, I wonder what world this is from. I wonder. Yeah, it sounds like a movie that Ash may played a very big part in. Okay, yeah, true. But also, does it not evoke memories of The Little Mermaid? Think about it. But yeah, the guy with 160 attack had bad rolls against the one with 45 defense. Sure, Mochi. Listen. I don't care who you are. If you rolled nothing but nat ones, and maybe with disadvantage half the time, it doesn't matter what stats you are. You could have a strength stat of 30 and still miss. Oh man, if only you were there during Baldur's Gate to see Ryoshi fighting against this frog with like an AC of like 23 and ended up dying to this frog until eventually I killed the frog with magic missile because, you know, that's one of the few things I could hit him, but I was like, there, I did it! I took care of the frog for you! Oh man. But yes, that is Little Mermaid, yeah! And yeah, this song is specifically for Atlantica in Kingdom Hearts 2. Which, by the way, is optional, is probably the worst world in the game, but This is one of my favorite songs in Kingdom Hearts 2. Bar none. This song is so underrated, and that's largely because it is in a world that nobody likes. And that you could just completely avoid. It's a dang shame that a song this good was to be, you know, relatively forgotten, you know? But not with me! I remember it! And so I'm reminding all of you that it exists. Anyway. Ash! Let's go see the Pokemon Ranger movie! She said as she tugged his arm toward the ticket booth, shoving the piece of paper in his face. Ash looked blankly at the name. Won't it be hard to understand a movie in a different language? He said, blinking. Okay, one thing that does make me raise eyebrows about this is that this movie is considered, so that this is a foreign film. The title is clearly in Japanese. They are in Kanto, a region that is based on the Kanto region in Japan. You know, the region of the same name, I believe. Apparently Japan is foreign to Japan. I don't know, man. I don't know. They're speaking English, I guess. I mean, come on, okay. This is the localization. Because as we know, this is Ash and May, not Satoshi and Haruka, as their names in Japan. So maybe it's kind of different. I don't know. Gotta love Pokemon logic. Yeah, I know. But you know, but still, I'm not going to let this ruin my suspension of disbelief because, as we all know, because as I said before, this is Ash and May, not Satoshi and Haruka. So I think we're good. Anyway, May pushed him ahead. Of course not. We'll have subtitles, she told him. Ash sighed at the thought of reading a movie. 2 per Pokemon Ranger, he sighed, reaching for his wallet. The teen gave him the tickets in exchange for the money and allowed Ash and May to pass. The couple looked at their tickets and saw that the show would start in about 15 minutes. May and Ash silently decided to go to the snack bar in the meantime. He was determined to be a gentleman. When May offered to buy her own snacks, he replied, "Don't worry about it. A champion on the battle frontier can handle this." May sighed and let his ego buy the snacks as she went ahead to go find the theater. Ash ended up with 2 jumbo drinks and a large tub of popcorn, and found himself unable to carry them on his own. He sighed, knowing that Pikachu could have lent a helping hand. He clumsily wrapped his arms around the snacks and began to follow May. The Pokemon trainer looked about for his girlfriend, but she had disappeared in the crowd. He glanced skyward for the large signs that told him the direction of the theater. As he turned in the correct direction, he felt one of the soda cups slipping from his grip. Desperately, trying against all odds, he used his knee to nudge the cup up so he could reaffix his grip onto it. Grunting, however, he missed it as it fell to the ground. He cringed as he listened for the crashing of the cup. But instead, he heard a Pokemon. "Hey!" she said, catching the cup in her catcher's glove tail. "Ipom! Ipom!" Ash shouted in a hushed tone. "What are you doing here?" "Oh!" She lifted her tail up so Ash could reach it. "Thanks, Ipom," he said, taking the cup from her. "But you're supposed to be at Oaks!" "Eh?" She tilted her head to the side, a silly grin on her face. "If you get seen, we'll both be thrown out," he told her. "After how much this is costing me, I'm not gonna let you blow it." Ipom raised her paw up, as if she had an idea, and scrambled up into Ash's sweatshirt. She clinged to his back, wrapped around her tail around his midsection to keep herself stationary. All right, you can stay there, Ipom, but don't do anything funny, all right? Oh! His back responded. A couple of passers-by raised their eyebrows to the boy speaking to himself, but didn't say anything. Ash waddled back past the usher into the theater. May was waiting. May leaned back in her chair, waiting for Ash to catch up with her. She entertained herself, much to the dismay of everyone else in the theater, by reading the advertisement slides shown on the screen out loud. And whenever a quiz question popped up, she would also voice her guess to the rest of the audience, followed up by a, "Yay, I got it right!" or, "Ah, shoot, I should have picked the other one," depending on the circumstances. When Ash finally made his way into the theater, May thought something was different about him. She decided that interrogating him on suspicious activity could probably wait until after she got some popcorn and soda. Setting the tub between them, Ash handed her one of the sodas as he sat down next to her. "Hey!" Something squeaked. "Hey, I hope they start the movie soon," Ash said, trying to cover it up. May raised her eyebrows at this, but said nothing, as the lights were dimming and the show was about to start. The Pokemon Ranger was making his first trip underwater with the help of 2 lanterns he had used his capture styler on. He looked over and saw the beautiful princess hiding behind a whalmer. Ash reached into the tub and sighed. Between May, himself, and his guest, nearly all the popcorn was gone. He'd been lucky that May was so absorbed in reading the subtitles. Out loud when the princess spoke, she hadn't noticed the extra hand going in and out of Ash's sweatshirt. Ash handed the tub over to May to let her eat the remainder of the popcorn. The girl took it and began shoveling the last kernels into her mouth. He smiled at how cute she looked when she was stuffing her mouth, then reached for his soda. His hand missed the cup as a pale palm snatched it up and took it under his sweatshirt behind his back. Ash reached behind him and wrestled the cup from his Pokemon's grip. "Ipom, cut it out!" said in a hushed tone, yanking the cup away. "What'd you say, Ash?" May said, turning to look over at him. I said, he thought much more quickly than average, "I hope they keep the lights out." He smiled, placing his arm around her shoulders. "Oh, Ash." May became quiet as she leaned in. "Make sure we don't give people a show they didn't pay for, okay?" she whispered. Ash rolled his eyes, glad that the dark room hid his action for May. He had no intention of kissing her in front of all these people, but he had to cover up for Ipom, right? May rested her head against him. She continued to watch the movie and drink her soda. He focused on the screen. The princess and the ranger, who was named Kazuki, were talking. The ranger through the assistance of one of the breathing masks similar to the ones that Ash had used before while in Cerulean with Misty during their adventures before Ash's first Pokemon League. They related their experiences from living in different places. The ranger asked if if she could take him deeper to see some rare Pokemon. Sorry, there was a typo in there. And that was why he came to the sea. Earlier in the movie, he had been charged with the task of recording all the species of Pokemon in the area for conservational purposes. The princess agreed and began to lead him downward. He felt something moving around his back. Ash looked over at May's head in horror as he saw Ipom's tail reaching out from his sweatshirt. Afraid that smacking Ipom's tail would only give the Pokemon's location away, Ash watched and prayed silently that Ipom wouldn't do anything wrong. He broke into a cold sweat as the palm lowered down May's back and came close to the bottom of her seat. A myriad of possible outcomes began rushing through his mind. Ipom wouldn't, right? He assured himself. Ipom wouldn't! Ipom did. The palm hovered close to May's bottom and nipped at it with a pinch, causing the girl to sit up with a eep! As Ipom quickly retracted her tail, Ash's eyes were overcome with fear as May turned to him. Ash Ketchum, if that was your hand, I'm gonna make sure you never throw a Pokeball again for as long as you live! She growled lowly, her sapphire eyes burning with rage. It wasn't me! Ash said, leaping out of his seat, shouting. He reached into his sweatshirt and grabbed Ipom by her long tail. Pulling quickly so the long-tailed Pokemon couldn't grip with her clumsy hands, he ripped the normal type out of her hiding place. It was Ipom! Why is Ipom here if you're not supposed to bring any Pokemon into the theater? May stood up and put her hands on her hips, wanting an explanation. Could you two keep it down? A husky man behind them told the couple, You're gonna ruin the movie for the rest of us. Ash turned his head to defend himself, but stopped short when he recognized the man. You didn't expect to see me again so soon? The man said, smiling from behind his round sunglasses. The couple blinked. Scott? What are you doing here? Sit back and relax. Sit back and enjoy the rest of the movie, Scott chuckled. We'll catch up afterwards. Oh, that eye palm, am I right? Am I right? Am I right? I'm right, right? I'm right. I'm right. I'm right. Of course I'm right. Yeah, I know. Oh, IPOM, right? I know. May had never been too sure what to think of Scott. She met him for the first time outside of the Battle Factory, where Ash got his first frontier symbol. A large but jolly man, Scott would always show up where Pokemon battles were going on. He seemed to take a special interest in May's battles against his hand-picked frontier brains, although he did show up at the Kanto Grand Festival to watch the battles going on there. He seemed a bit seedy to May. He always showed up with his curly brown hair, just as she and her friends had arrived at the various facilities around Kanto. Now he was here, in Pallet Town, treating her and her boyfriend to pizza. I remember what you said about hanging in Pallet before going off on your next adventure, Scott said, sitting down at the small outdoor table Ash and May sat at. IPOM sat on the boy's shoulder, and both of them looked apologetically to May. IPOM was probably just reaching for my soda again, Ash rationalized. She didn't mean to pinch you. May looked scornfully at IPOM. Well, you're still a bad girl, IPOM. You shouldn't have let Oaks. IPOM, the disciplined Pokemon sighed, slinking down Ash's back. Anyway, Scott coughed, bringing the attention back to himself. I came here to ask a favor of you, Ash. Ash turned to Scott. Huh? Why me? Well, you are the most recent challenger to defeat the first 7 of the Frontier Brains, Scott mentioned. I thought a trainer of your caliber would like to help. May furrowed her eyebrows in thought. Wait a minute. The first 7? Does that mean there are more Frontier Brains? Scott laughed. I'm always willing to expand my frontier, May. I built another facility on an island in the Sevii Islands. Ash looked at him. The Sevii Islands? Where's that? The Sevii Islands are a chain of 7 islands south of Johto, Scott explained. Each one has a name, but the cities are numbered. The man reached into his large pockets and pulled out a map. He unfurled it before the traveling trainers, and pointed to the chain of islands situated between the Orange Islands and Hoenn, sitting south of the Johto region. I've built a new facility called the Battle Fortress on Chrono Island, and I wanted you to give my new brain a test drive, so to speak. Ash smiled, putting down the slice of pepperoni pizza he was eating. Well, that sounds fun, Scott. I'd love to test out your new brain. Wait! May halted him. What about my contest? You can't just go somewhere for you. That's true, Ash sighed. Wait! Scott jumped up. What if I told you that there's a Pokemon contest on Glow Island? May looked at him. A contest? Yeah, a contest. So there's something for you both to do in the Sevii Islands. I don't know, May sighed. If it's only one contest, then it's not much practice. Well, 7 Island is also known for being a great resort town, Scott told them. Afterwards, I'm sure you two could have some private time on Quest Island. Ooh, Ash was confused for a second. Oh, wait, why did you just call 7 Island Quest Island? That's because that's what it's called. As I said, each of the Sevii Islands has a name, but the cities on them are numbered 1 through 7. 7 Island is the name of the one on Quest Island. Alright, I think I understand now. May was sold. Well, what do you think, Ash? Sounds like it'll be a good detour from going to a large region, doesn't it? Ash smiled back. Sure, I always wanted to battle tougher opponents. It sounds like fun going to the islands. Scott reached into his pockets and took out 2 ferry tickets, handing them to Ash. I figured that you'd say yes. His sunglasses gleamed. So, I went ahead and made arrangements for you two to take a ferry to one island in the morning. That is, if you don't mind. May snatched the tickets out of his hand. That is a bit sudden, but I'd love to go see some tropical islands. Well, we'd better head by Oak's Lab and pick up our Pokemon, Ash told her. He turned to the man, saying, Thank you, Scott. I won't let you down. I'm sure you won't, Matt said, grinning. And with that, I'll excuse myself. I don't need to cramp the style of such a cute couple any longer. And with that, he rose and departed into the crowd of people. Ash had returned to devouring the pizza pie Scott had left in their care, with the eye palm on his shoulder also taking a piece. May smiled at the two and began taking her share. After all, she would have to get her strength up for her new adventure too. Yeah, remember the Sevii Islands, everybody? The Sevii Islands! One of the coolest additions to Gen 1. Courtesy of Fire Red and Leaf Green. Which, I mean, I guess would make it Gen 3, but you know what I mean? You know what I mean, right? Such a cool side area! And with that, we have our setting for the vast majority of the story. Isn't that great? Anyway. Time passes. Hey, everyone! Ash called out as he and May stepped back into Oak Ranch. Wait a minute. Okay. We're back! May echoed his tone, causing all their Pokemon to rush out to meet them. From the grass, water, and trees, Ash and May's Pokemon all rushed out to meet them. Ash was tackled to the ground by Donphan, knocking Ipom from his shoulder. Pikachu leapt onto his chest, happy to see his friend again. I missed you too, Pikachu, Ash laughed. May laughed as well, as Skitty and Eevee leapt onto her shoulders and nuzzled their trainer. Aw, you two are so cute, she cooed, rubbing behind their ears. Which Pokemon should I take with me? Ash pondered. Definitely Pikachu, he laughed as the Pokemon nuzzled his face. And I need to keep Ipom out of trouble, so I guess she's coming along too. This caused the deviant normal type to hop about happily. Blaziken! May called for her starter Pokemon. A tired Blaziken and Sceptile stumbled in through the bushes, each approaching their trainer. Blaziken fell to her knee and breathed heavily. I guess you and Sceptile have been sparring all this time, haven't you? She asked. Cat! The fire and fighting type Pokemon nodded. May reached for a Pokeball. Return, Blaziken. A red beam shot from the red and white ball, drawing the Pokemon inside. You need to rest, because I'm definitely taking you along. And speaking of keeping certain Pokemon out of trouble, she turned to her larger normal type. Munchlax, you're coming too, so you don't get in trouble. Madge! The jolly Pokemon agreed as he was drawn into his Pokeball. Hey, Cyndaquil. Ash leaned down to the Echidna. You were awesome earlier. You want to come along with me again? The Pokemon nodded and squeaked Cyndaquil in happiness. Sceptile stepped forward. Tile! Don't worry, Sceptile. I was planning on taking you as well. Ash laughed to his large forest Pokemon. He looked to the large remaining group of Pokemon. They knew that only 2 places were left in Ash's lineup, so they all began raising their voices for a chance to be taken. All except for Bulbasaur, who was sitting nearby May's Bulbasaur, talking to her. May stepped closer to the pair. I guess neither of you want to come with us, huh? She asked them. They shook their heads and returned their conversation. May smiled, knowing love when she saw it. I guess that means I can take both of you, huh? May said as she stood with Eevee and Skitty on her shoulders. The 2 small Pokemon cheered as their place with May was confirmed. May giggled with a long mouth fell before her. She felt the familiar presence of Beautifly in her head. You can come too, she grinned to her Pokemon, causing her to trill in delight. Ash still faced the hard decision, however. He wanted to take them all with him, but he could only take 2 more. Since I haven't taken Totodile and Murk anywhere recently, he said after much deliberation, why don't I let you 2 come along? The purple sludge Pokemon smiled in confirmation. He leapt onto the boy, almost covering him entirely, yelling Muck as he grinned. The small water type giddily hopped over to Muck and his trainer. A wide, toothy grin on his face, Totodile fired his water gun, knocking Muck off. Totodile danced for Ash, waiting to be praised. And, of course, he smiled, causing the reptile to leap onto his arms and croak happily. Good work, Totodile. May stepped over to Ash. Let's get everyone in their Pokeballs and head back to your house. We have an early morning tomorrow. He nodded in agreement, stood up. He smiled to the team he had assembled as Pikachu leapt onto his shoulder. Now was the time to rest. Tomorrow, their next adventure would begin. Yeah. You love Fire Red and Leaf games? You love Fire Red and Leaf Green? Ah, yeah, so good, man. I love them. So good. You literally play them once a year, basically? Oh, yeah. Honestly, maybe I should run Fire Red and Archipelago. I mean, I did get bored of my, like, Pokemon Blue rando at one point, so maybe I shouldn't, but I don't know. I don't know, maybe I should run it again. I don't know. Because I've really caught the Pokemon bug lately. So, you know. With that is chapter 2. Or, no, 3. Chapter 3. And yeah, Muck is getting a little screen time. Great, isn't it? Crazy. Muck's a good boy. Alright, let me get these things. Also, I love this song, The Swift is Win. Like, listen to this. Listen to this! For some reason, it gives me Ace Combat vibes. I don't know why. But I think it is this part specifically that gives it to me, but... Ah, I love it. I love it. Ah. Three Houses had a great soundtrack. I love it. The remakes are so much better than the originals. They're by far the best way to play a Kanto. Yeah, I do agree with that. But there is something also nostalgic about playing a game that's held together by duct tape, you know, in 8-bit, you know? So, I don't know, that's where I like the appeal, you know? There's just something about it, like, it has its charm. It kind of takes me back to the time I would play Pokemon Yellow in a family friend's camper, you know? So, you know. Chapter 5.冒険の始まりだ! Which, by the way, is Japanese for... It's the beginning of the adventure. I mean, to say it literally. I guess a better way of localizing it in English would be, it's the adventure begins! A few moments passed as Ashen lay awake in his room. Suddenly, yet slowly, the door opened, and May stepped in, her legs bare and her large yellow shirt covering her torso entirely down to midway down her thighs. I see you've made yourself comfortable, Ash, she said to him as she smiled, stepping up closer and kneeling down next to her sleeping bag. Ash grinned back. Yeah, I guess you could say that. He began to ask, since he noticed. Where'd you put the clothes you were wearing? I left them in the laundry hamper in the hall so Mommy could wash them for me. She laughed as she slipped into her own sleeping bag. Why? Are you nervous that I might run out of clothes on our trip and have to go naked or something? She teased him, nudging his shoulder. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about the trip, Ash said while blushing. May propped herself up on her elbows to listen to what the boy had to say. What about it? I guess I'm worried that something bad is going to happen between us while we're there, May confessed. I'm afraid that I'll do something stupid and then you'll hate me for it. May sat up further still enshrouded in her sleeping bag. Gosh, I could never hate you. I love you, silly. One goof up won't change that. You say that now, Ash said, sitting up and turning to her, also keeping the sleeping bag over him. But what if it's a really big screw-up? Ash, you're worrying over nothing, she told him. We'll work through any problems we have together, I just know it. After all, isn't that how we got as far as we have today? We relied on each other for strength and support. Just between the two of us, we have them in spades. That's not counting Max, Brock, Misty, or any of our other friends. Ash looked into her eyes. Do you promise? Do you promise that whatever comes our way, even if I mess up really bad, that you'll never want to leave me? May moved her face closer to Ash's. Of course, Ash, she whispered. Just as long as you promise me the same. Ash felt himself flushing bright red. Okay, sure, he gulped. May moved her face in closer, pressing her lips against Ash's for a moment. He saw their lips parted as they shared their breath. And May broke the kiss and slid back down into her sleeping bag. What was that for? Ash asked after the rush he received from the kiss had passed. Just sealing our promise, she giggled. I thought it'd be okay. He had a small smile on his face. All right, thanks, May. He slipped back down into his sleeping bag, and he heard the top of May's sleeping bag unzip. She worked the zipper to give her arms the ability to move. Scooting closer to Ash, she slipped one of her arms under his neck and the other over his chest. Her arms met when the one over the chest grabbed the one that went under the neck by the wrist. She rested her head on his shoulder. Good night, Ash, she whispered. Ash, not wanting to move and disturb his beloved's sleep, only whispered back, Good night, May, in return. You learned so much about those games, too. Duct tape is generous. Those games are held together by thumbtacks. Yes, they are. That's also their charm, too, you know? Also, I'm so jealous of Ash right now. I know, right? It should have been me, not him! It's not fair! That's my best, attempt. That's my best impression of Atem doing an impression of Patrick, so. Or is it the other way around? I don't know. Either way. A morning sun shone into the window of Ash's room as the Dodrio down the road called for the sunrise. Pikachu's sensitive ears picked up the sound and roused him from his sleep. Peeking over the edge of the bed, he spied Ash and May, still asleep, with a girl wrapping her arms around him. Pikachu smiled at the cute scene, crawled down the bed. He nuzzled his cheek against Ash's and planted a small kiss into May's hair before slipping quietly out the door. Pikachu sniffed the air, catching a whiff of Delia's preparing breakfast. He scuttled down the stairs quickly, wanting to assure his place for the meal. As the sun glided into May's eyes, she turned onto her belly, her head still facing Ash, with her eyes clenched shut to block out the sunlight. Ash himself slowly opened his eyes to the sunlight when it came to him. He felt warm, comfortable in his sleeping bag, even though he didn't get to sleep in a soft bed. He looked over and saw Maze quietly dozing, her arms still wrapped around him. He didn't yet quite understand why he liked it when May held on to him. In his mind, it made him feel like a big rock, sturdy, powerful, and built to last. When May relied on him, he felt so much stronger than usual. He smiled at the girl next to him. Hey, May, he whispered. I think it's time to wake up. May opened her mouth wide and let out a yawn into Ash's face. Oh, what time is it, honey? She asked him. Well, sweetie, Ash replied in a slightly sarcastic tone. I'll check. He sat up and looked at the small clock he had set up by his pillow. The first time he saw it, it blinked a few times. And he blinked a few times and rubbed his eyes. Seeing that the time was accurate, he let out a scream. May jumped up and stood behind him. What is it, Ash? She panicked. Where are the T's? Okay, here it is. It's already 9 o'clock! We only have an hour before the ferry arrives! He shouted. May leapt up in response. Oh, we haven't eaten yet! We're not dressed! We gotta get ready quick! Ash shot into action. He grabbed a change of his clothes from his closet, shoved May out the room with her pack. The girl darted into the restroom across the hall to get dressed herself. Clothed in one of the outfits his mother got for his travels in the Hoenn region, he began placing more changes of clean clothes in his pack. Grabbing his belongings, he darted down the stairs and stood in the kitchen doorway as his mother prepared breakfast at her own pace. Mom, what are you waiting for? Ash asked, running in place. It won't be ready until it's ready, honey, Delia said, smiling to her son. It won't be too much longer. I know you have to get going soon. Just go watch some television or something and just try to relax. Grunting, Ash returned to the living room and found Pikachu flipping through channels, looking for something to watch. Ash sat next to his Pokemon, also waiting for something to catch his eye. May bolted down the stairs in one of the outfits she received from Rain, the shopkeeper they stayed with in Cerulean City. She made sure the bandana she received from Ash was on straight as she approached the couch to see her boyfriend and his partner just sitting there. What are you doing? May said, flailing her arms. We didn't eat so we can leave! can't if the food's not ready yet, Ash said plainly, not taking his eyes off the images from the box. May groaned. Why now? We're gonna be late! Just sit down and relax, Ash offered a seat next to him. Let's watch some TV while we wait for the food to get done. Pikapi! Ash shouted, pointing at the screen. Ash and May looked away from each other and at where Pikachu was pointing. Sorry, my computer's slow. It has been 2 days since the frontier brain of the Battle Dome, Dome Ace Tucker, has vanished without a trace, the newscaster stated. After moving her papers and puffing her blonde hair, she continued. Police are baffled as to what could have happened. Scott, the man who established the battle frontier, was unavailable to comment. Pictures of Tucker appeared on the television set as the woman continued. The flamboyant man stood facing an opponent on the screen. Although with his odd hairstyle and purple fairy costume, he looked quite silly, Ash did remember vividly the battle he had gotten from him for the tactics symbol. He was a master of showmanship and battle finesse. Reports are coming in saying that Tucker is just the first to have vanished in such a short time. Greta, who teaches her students in the battle arena, has also been reported missing. Frontier Brains are going missing? May asked no one in particular. That's weird, Ash thought out loud. We just saw Scott yesterday. Why didn't he tell us about this? Pikachu added, even thought. Breakfast is ready! Delia called in from the kitchen. Next time we see him, we'll have to ask, won't we? May said as they entered the kitchen to hastily devour their meal. Ash couldn't give a response as his mouth was already full of waffle. May giggled and began to eat as well. Oh boy! Something's happening! Something's happening! The plot thickens! I guess, kind of, or I don't know. What could this be about? I don't know. What could this be about? I don't know. Who knows? They're always so worried about Team Rocket being the bad guys, but maybe Scott is the real bad guy. Maybe. Who knows? He does look quite seedy to May, after all. But I guess we'll just have to see, won't we? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. After eating as quickly as they could, Ash and May bade his mother farewell, dashing out the door with only 15 minutes until the ferry was to depart. Pikachu leapt to his partner's shoulder as they ran down the road to the port. He remembered his trip to the Orange Islands and learned how this trip would differ. Oh, well, obviously May's with me this time, he told himself, and I won't have Lapras to carry me around. May, on the other hand, was thinking about the tropical climate, how wonderful it would be to spend some time alone with Ash on the beach. This is just the excuse I need to get a new bathing suit, she giggled to herself. As green seems to be becoming my color, maybe I'll get something like that. She laughed to herself. Of course, I'm gonna have to wait for Ash's battle with that new brain to be over, and my contest, of course. Her thoughts drifted to what they had heard about the frontier brains disappearing. I hope they're all right. I wonder why Scott didn't tell us anything. They arrived at the port, but didn't take the time to absorb the location due to their tardiness. The couple dashed into the ticket office, ready to present their tickets to the man in the booth. What time is it? Ash panted, as he and May came to a stop before the man sitting in his box. May looked up. He was a clean-cut man with black hair, wearing a blue suit and a red tie. A pin with the insignia of the port was pinned to his suit coat. The man blinked implicitly. It's 10:32. Why? Despair appeared on Ash's face. 10:32? We missed the ferry. What do you mean? The man had a look of confusion on his face. The tickets say 10:30 on them, she said as she slid the tickets into the booth for the man to see. You misunderstand, he said, shocked, like, hello? Sorry, technical difficulties. Also, Crud's wild, though. A train is stronger than the entire Elite Four getting kidnapped. That's crazy. I know, right? That is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Like, surely something rotten is... there is something rotten in the state of Denmark. as Shakespeare once said. The tickets say 10:30 on them, May said as she slid the tickets to the booth for the man to see. Oh, you must understand, he said, letting out a chuckle. That's the number of rides these tickets are good for. You see, the first number is the number of times these have been used, and the second is the number of total rides that can be used. Then we can still use a ferry? Ash asked back, cheering up. But they don't have a schedule? May said, blinking, not quite believing the man for a moment. Let me explain. Our ferry system uses a type of ship called the Sea Gallop. These ships move high speeds through the water, allowing travelers and tourists to quickly hop from one island to another. It takes only a few minutes to get from Kanto to the Sevii Islands this way, where it would take at least a day to get there with a regular ship. There are 10 Sea Gallop ferries running at any particular time. They're always going between the islands and ports. And if there isn't one in now in a few moments, there could be. So keeping people on a schedule when we don't even use one would be rather silly. It's all about supply and demand. If there are more people who want to go to a particular place than another group, then the larger group would go first, of course. But the next ferry wouldn't be far behind. That sounds really cool, Ash said to the helpful man. Can we take a ferry to 5 Island? The man put on a disappointed look. Actually, from here, you can only go to Olivine City, Vermilion City, Cinnabar Island, One Island, or Lily Cove City. From one island, you'd be able to transfer to the rest of the Sevii Islands. Alright. Ash's bright demeanor faded slightly. Well, go to one island, then. Alright, he said, as he ran their tickets through a machine. He handed them back to them, motioned them for them to go through the gate. Have fun on one island! Ash and May step out on the port as one of the large, swift-moving ships pulled in. A sailor asked the couple their destination, to which May responded, "One island, please." Ash was too busy wondering how the number on the ticket was changing from 10:30 to 11:30. May looked into the waters of the bay, noticing that they were dark green color. They must have been polluted due to the frequent traffic. After walking up the plank to board the ship, they went ahead and stepped into the main cabin. Ash loitered and had to be pushed along, causing him to grumble at the sailors who pushed them along. The rather small sailor told the boy that it was for his own safety. Anyone on the outside of the ship could be launched at high speed. A buff tattooed sailor, wearing the white suit that one would normally attribute to sailors, came into the room. Hey, can everyone hear me? The ship's gonna plow into the waters to take you to one isle. Can everyone take a seat and buckle up? For your own safety, of course. As Ash and May sat between two other people on the large, red-cushioned benches on the walls around the room, May giggled, saying, "That guy talks a lot like Team Rocket's Meowth." On the top of the ship, Meowth, his ear pressed against the roof, started to frown. "Hey, I don't sound like some kind of pirate," he growled. "Shh," warned Jessie. "Keep your voice down, Meowth." "We discovered we won't be able to chase the twerps and get Pikachu," James added. "You all don't think I talk weird, do ya?" Meowth turned around, his eyes tearful. Jessie and James looked at each other, unsure of how to answer without hurting his feelings. Inside the ship, the sailors made sure everyone was secured tightly. As the man approached Ash, he looked warily at Pikachu, who currently sat on his shoulder. "You got Pokeballs for you, mate?" he said, pointing at Pikachu. Ash smiled, and then stated, "I do, but Pikachu doesn't like to go inside them." He hoped that the sailor would drop the subject. It's mighty unsafe for a Pokemon to be outside its Pokeball while we moved," he warned. "I'm not gonna put Pikachu in there, alright?" Ash tried to stand up to the man, not remembering that he was buckled into his seat. He jerked up, but the seat belt helped him down. He growled irritably at the man for wanting him to put Pikachu in there. May put a hand on his shoulder. "Ash, calm down." He turned to her, his voice sharper than intended. "I'm not gonna let them do anything to Pikachu!" Realizing his social folly, he immediately quieted down and shrunk his neck back. "May, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that." May just smiled warmly. "I know you didn't, Ash." She untied her bandana and held it between him and her. "Pikachu, come here." She motioned down, and Pikachu climbed off his shoulder and sat between them. They tied her bandana around Pikachu at the ends of her and Ash's seatbelts, securing the Pokemon in an uncomfortable but acceptable position. The sailor grunted, but accepted it. "Make sure your Pokemon doesn't move around, alright, mate? he said, walking away. The nerve of that jerk, Ash growled under his breath, shaking his fist. May massaged the shoulder that she placed her hand on before. Why don't we just enjoy the ride, okay, Ash? Ash calmed down. You're right. I'm sorry I got a bit out of control there. You're apologizing too much, she giggled, nudging him. You're right, sorry. Ash apologized. Again, after a moment, Ash, May, and Pikachu all burst into laughter. As the rest of the passengers looked on with concerned expressions at the children in their midst. The lead sailor, who spoke with Ash and May, stepped up to the navigator's room. A steady, calm, masculine voice came over the intercom. This is your captain speaking. Welcome to Sea Gallop Ferry number 7. We hope you enjoy your ride to One Island. We will be moving shortly, so please stay still while the boat is in motion. Ah! That is not how that works. Okay. With that, the intercom shut off, and the boat began to rumble. Ash shook May's hand in his own. They held them behind Pikachu, who rested his head on their clasped hands. The boat jolted forward, causing May to let out a short scream as the ship speed increased, and then leveled off at a higher speed. On top of the ship, the rockets clung as tightly as they could to the roof. Meowth dug his claws in as deeply as he could into the steel roof, with Jesse James each grabbing onto one of his large feet. Let's try to climb down to the sides! Meowth shouted. The other rockets nodded as well as they could at the high speed. Slowly, Meowth inched backwards, with Jesse and James also moving in that direction. Jesse reached back with her foot. Hey, I feel the edge! James double-checked for her. She's right! Not much further, Meowth! Great! Meowth said, grinning against the wind. I'm gonna need a pedicure after this! The trio had a small laugh as they inched back further along. Jessie reached back with her leg, and he's slipping off the top of the ship. Losing her balance, her grip slipped from Meowth's foot. The momentum of the ship threatened to throw her off from the top. She screamed as she felt herself slipping away into the air behind the speeding ferry. But suddenly, she felt someone's arm wrapped around hers. Effie! James tried to speak with a mouthful of Meowth's tail. Distracted by his green eyes for only a moment, she nodded and began climbing down behind the railing, still holding onto James's arm. After securing herself behind the ship, with no wind tossing her off, Jessie grabbed James by his foot and began to pull him down. It took Meowth down by the tail, still secured in his mouth. Once the rockets had a chance to catch their breath, they all embraced each other. We're alive! They cheered. Next time, Meowth added, we're just gonna go by balloon. I don't care how long it takes. Hey, Ash, May said, breaking their current conversation. Did you hear something? Ash listened in for a moment. I thought I heard Team Rocket. Could it? Pikachu let out a sigh, not wanting to be put into a net again. If they were here, I'm sure they would have tried to grab Pikachu, they laughed. We're probably just so used to them showing off that we're hearing things. That's true, Ash laughed, Pikachu snickering as well. Hey, Ash, they said, looking over to him. I know you want to get to the Battle Fortress as soon as possible, but do you think we could spend some time on One Island before we go? He smiled back at her. Why not? After all, exploring new places is half the fun of traveling, right? Pika Pika! May turned her head to the front, squinted to see out the faraway window. Ash, look at that! She pointed to a small island quickly headed their way. That must be One Island! Ash squinted as well. Oh, look at that big mountain! He said, shouting in excitement. I wonder what kind of stuff is there? May grinned, eyeing him to the side. Well, there's only one way to find out, right? Right, Ash said, nodding. We'll explore him together. I like the way you think. May laughed, running her hand through Ash's messy hair, causing the boy to blush. Besides, Ash added, there's that contest on one of the islands, right? That's right. We'll have to get to 4 Island in enough time to register for it. Pikachu! Pikachu raised his fist into the air cutely, as if agreeing with the couple. They laughed and rubbed behind Pikachu's ears as the ship pulled into port at One Island. And before the guy goes, these tickets are for tomorrow at 10:30. Ash is on me. Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, you know, in Wiltress, nothing crazy. Is your favorite bird? Oh, I like Articuno, if anyone's curious. But I'm also on Team Instinct, so, like, John the Zaptist, you know? I did it for the meme! Okay. Now, I'll be right back. I actually want to get a little snacky snack. I'll be back in, like, maybe a minute. I'll be back. Okay, we are good. We are fine. Articuno is your second favorite bird because you know blue. Yes! Exactly. And also ice. It's just, I don't know. I like Ice Beam. Also, like, I don't know. Articuno carried me quite a bit in Pokemon Stadium in the past. Yes, I'm back. I have my snack, which is turkey jerky. Yum. Honestly, not my favorite jerky, but it gets the job done. All right. And we're back. Oh. Scroll. Yeah. Ads. Oh, I think I'm gonna hydrate, Aiden. Needed that hydrate. Especially since this jerky is quite salty. Alright. Alright, so the couple has pulled in to one island. The couple has made it to the Sevii Islands. Chapter 6. Some like it hot. Ash and May stepped out the boat into the bright sunshine. May held up her hand so as to shield her eyes from the intensity. Perfect, she thought. This is the best weather for Ash and me to have a little alone time. Ash, however, looked confidently at his partner. Pikachu, are you ready to win at the Battle Fortress? Be Pikachu! He affirmed his confidence. May sighed, hoping that Ash would want to wait before going to the fortress so she and he could spend some time together on one island. After the couple, plus Pikachu, stepped through the turnstiles, they began to take in the tropical climate. It's been a long time since we've been on an island, huh? May nudged Ash's side. He grinned at her. Yeah, the sunlight feels great. May twiddled her index fingers around each other. Well, maybe you should just relax here for a day or so. I'm sure we can have lots of fun on this island. Ash was less convinced. Well, I'd rather make sure we keep exploring. Let's search the island a bit further before we make any big plans. Alright, May conceded. She was sure that he would be convinced about the island by exploring it anyway. The streets were lined with stores, each trying to sell various beach gear. Surfboards, jet skis, bathing suits were all shown off in an attempt to attract buyers. In particular, one pink bikini caught May's eye as she and Ash walked by. The girl paused for a moment, halting her small talk with the trainer to gaze at the clothing. She took in the fabric with her eyes, noting closely how it hugged the mannequin's body. The faceless doll stood in a way to allure men, causing women to desire such a swimsuit so that they could attract them as well. May, what are you looking at? Ash surprised her by stepping up behind her. Oh! She jumped. I was just thinking I needed a new swimsuit, she told him. That had been a part of her plan when she decided to come to the island. She looked up at the pink bikini again. Closing her eyes to picture herself in it, her smile turned into a frown. In her old red bandana, the pink bikini would have suited her perfectly. It would have complemented her color choices exactly, making her look even more adorable and irresistible to Ash, she hoped. However, with her green bandana, the one Ash got for her, the pink clashed very loudly. She decided that she would require a subdued green swimsuit instead. Not seeing one in the window, she turned to Ash. That one isn't for me, though. I don't see any others, so let's head on further. He cracked a grin. Alright, let's go further up the road. We need to find the Pokemon Center anyway. And so they did. At first, Ash was missing his hat, as it would have covered his eyes from the bright sun as they walked along the concrete sidewalks in the big city. But after a while, his eyes had adjusted to the bright light, and now he was thankful that it wasn't covering his head, cooking his brain in the heat. Ash stopped for a moment, and Pikachu leapt onto May's shoulder. He took off the sweatshirt that was smothering him at this point, and placed it into his pack. Sliding the pack back on and welcoming Pikachu back on his shoulder, he shot a smile at May, who blushed and smiled back at him. As they continued up the road, Ash and May noticed that most of the pedestrian traffic was headed back into the direction they came from. Must be going to the beach, Ash noted out loud. Pikachu nodded, agreement. I'd like to spend some time at the beach before we go, May said, aside from her boyfriend and his Pokemon, making sure he can hear her. Ash sighed. I thought that we would spend time in the mountains here and spend time on the beaches on Sevii Islands. Ash reminded May of what Scott told him. Oh yeah! May jumped up. It's supposed to be a wonderful resort. I can't wait to get there! Ash laughed. That's better. Let's spend some time hiking in the mountains on one island before we go to the next one. May agreed, smiling. She gave him a short hug and they continued up the road. Pikachu let out a sigh and began to pant in the hot sun. I think we all need something to help us cool off, huh? Ash said to both Pikachu and May. They nodded and looked up the road to an ice cream stall on the roadside. Quickly stepping up, the hungry couple asked for 3 double-scooped ice cream cones. He handed over the money as Pikachu, who had stepped off Ash's shoulder to free his hands, and May got a chance to start licking from their cones. Ash looked at the ice cream for a moment, noting they only had vanilla. He shrugged and began licking his cone as well. The 3 stepped out from under the overhang and thanked the salesman. Sorry, doing jerky. Oh boy. Okay. Wait, what's my place? Thank you! Curse you, jerky! For making me lose my place! Okay. May linked hers and Ash's arms together with her free arm. This is nice, she thought. It's not the beach, but it's nice to spend time. Just me and Ash. I love times like these. I can have them all to myself. He looks really hot right now, too. May giggled to herself over her pun. Hey, May, look! Ash said, pointing up ahead with the tip of his ice cream, not breaking May's link. There's the Pokemon Center! Oh, great! May said, relieved. Now we don't have to spend any more time out here in the blazing sun. Oh? Ash looked over to her from the corner of his eye. I thought you liked the weather. I do, but you can't get any cool ocean breezes in the middle of a stuffy city. Okay, I am in the wrong page. They stepped into the Pokemon Center and took a look around. Ash is right. There was a large machine in the lobby of the center. Okay, not out of character. Sorry. Sorry! I was not actually speaking out of character. Okay. Ash is right. There was a large machine in the lobby of the center. The lights on the machine were off, but a man's sneakers were visible from under the machine, working on it like a mechanic on a car. To the left of this machine were the phones, and, of course, Nurse Joy, sitting faithfully behind her counter. Why, hello there! Joy bowed her head. And welcome to our Pokemon Center. How can I help you? Ash and May placed all their Pokeballs on the counter. Pikachu left up there as well. I think our Pokemon are a bit overheated, he said, rubbing behind Pikachu's sweaty ears. Could you help them cool down? Why, certainly, the nurse said, giving the children a comforting grin. She took the Pokeballs and placed them onto 2 trays before carrying them into the back room. Ash's attention was caught by the machine the man was working on in the front of the center. He walked over and began talking to the man working on it. Hello, sir? Ash asked. What are you doing? Don't call me sir, please. A boy not much older than Ash rolled out in front of the machine, his dolly. He wore large round glasses on his face, his eyes showing behind the lenses. His blonde hair was combed over to the side, yet there were no oil stains on him like Ash would attribute to a regular mechanic. His clothes were also much more white-collar than the jeans and shirt Ash often saw mechanics wearing. I'm barely older than you, I bet. By the way, does this guy's description ring a bell? Think long and hard in. Well, you could probably also figure it out on context, too. Oh, wow, I thought you'd be an older guy, Ash said, blinking. My name's Ash Ketchum from Pallet Town. What's yours? No. Okay. I'm Celio, the man said, bowing his head. And I'm actually a local from one island. That's cool. Ash turned his attention to the large device. Celio, what's this supposed to be? Let me explain. Do you know about transferring Pokemon between locations? May stepped up and around Ash looked at Celio. Like when Professor Oak transfers Pokemon to Ash, right? Celio's eyes widened at his appearance. Ash could tell that he was eyeing her in a way that he himself didn't quite like. Celio, he coughed. This is my girlfriend, May. She is from Petalburg City. Celio's eyes dimmed. Oh, okay. Anyway, this is a network machine. It enables Pokemon to be transferred over long distances. Ash got some of his Pokemon transferred to him from far away before. He spoke up, tilting her head curiously. So why do we need to use a network machine back in Hoenn? You misunderstand the purpose of a network machine. Celius blushed and laughed. Hoenn, Kanto, and Johto all have network machines. These send Pokemon very quickly between regions. Let me give you an example. Let's say that Ash wants to get a Pokemon from Professor Oak's lab to, say, your home, Petalburg City in Hoenn. That's in Hoenn, correct? He looked into her eyes. May looked to the side, away from Celio. Yeah, it's in Hoenn. Ash gritted his teeth quietly, not wanting to harm his acquaintance. Celio cleared his throat. Well, the Pokeball would be transformed into energy, then sent through the transfer system to the Pokemon Center, normally. However, because each center network is only connected within a region, you can't connect to Hoenn from a center in Kanto. That's where the network machine comes in. All of the network machines are connected to each other, and can send Pokemon at a high speed between regions. So when Oak sent Ash's Pokemon through the system, the Pokemon was sent through Kanto's network machine to Hoenn's network machine, where it was transferred to the correct Pokemon Center. May rubbed her chin with her hand. I think I understand now. So the Sevii Islands don't have a network machine yet? No, ma'am, he responded. I'm setting up this one here, and I'm almost done. Then you'll be able to get Pokemon from Kanto and Hoenn sent here. That means that until then, we can't change our Pokemon, Ash said out loud. Is there any way we can help, Celio? They asked him, pausing with a blush. Ash responded to the blush with a thing. Yeah, he gulped. Short distance from here, further toward the center of the island, there's a volcano called Mount Ember. If you wouldn't mind, could you go there and get something for me? What is it? Ash asked, blinking in interest on being put on a mission. Mount Ember is widely known for being a place where rubies can be found underground. In order to finish my machine, I need a large ruby. I spoke with the quarry master earlier this week, and he called yesterday and told me that he found a ruby large enough that could be used for my machine. I've been working on the machine here, and it still needs a bit of tuning, so could you go get my ruby for me? Sure, Ash said, grinning. That sounds fun. What do you say, May? Alright. At least it gets us out of the city for a bit. That reminds me! Celia said, landing his fist into his open palm. There's a hot spring on the way there, so you two can visit on your way to and from the mountain if you want, just along the path between here and there. Wow, thanks, Celio. Hot springs feel great regardless of the weather outside. I agree with you there, Ash, May beamed. A familiar jingle ran throughout the center. Oh, that means our Pokemon are feeling better. Let's pick it up and then we can get on the road. Till recently you wanted to go to the beach, Ash chuckled. And yeah, you are right, Aiden. You are right. It's that guy. You remember that side quest, right? Yeah. Ah. Wait. You know how you forgot Celia? It's okay. A lot of people do. After they collected their Pokemon, Ash, May, and Pikachu left the center, and the town they began heading down a path known locally as Kindle Road. The path ran away from the city towards the large mountain that Ash and May saw from the Sea Gallop earlier that day. The sun was still beating down overhead, but the open fields allowed for a cooling breeze to blow through the air, keeping the group comfortable. Tall grass and very few trees lined the path the trainers took toward their destination. That must be the Mount Ember that Celia was telling us about, Ash said, pointing towards the mountain in the distance. May shielded her eyes from the sun and squinted in the direction of the mountain. Is that ash falling from it? Ash did a double take and looked back at it as well. I guess it is. It did say it's a volcano. I guess it's still active. Active? May gulped. I don't want to go and get melted by lava! She began to panic. Calm down, May, Ash laughed as he started walking again. Just because it's active doesn't mean it's going to get erupt out of the blue. They're really shaking first and other stuff. I'm still nervous, though, May replied, hugging Ash's arm tightly. This could be really dangerous. I think I know what we could do to calm your nerves, as said. Said looking ahead, grinning all the while. What? She asked, also looking ahead. A sign declaring the entrance to the hot springs Celia also told them about. Yeah! May declared, leaping into the air. We found the hot spring! Let's stop here and take a break, Ash! She grabbed her boyfriend by the arm and led him into the cave. At first, Ash was suspicious of a cave housing a hot spring just being along the path, but as he stepped inside, his fears were alleviated. Many elderly people with balding and gray heads sat at the springs, relaxing. A few muscular men and women sat among them, discussing martial arts. The cave had interior lighting, making it bright enough to walk around in. The rocks were the kind of earthy brown color one would expect of a cave. Ash and May began looking for a changing room, and finally found one in the back of the cave. More accurately, it was a portable toilet, but it would have to be used as a changing room in this case. It stood at less than half of double Ash's height, and was a pale bluish green color. Sighing, Ash was the first to enter. He left Pikachu outside with May so that it wouldn't be as tight in the small chamber. He stripped down and pulled his red swimming trunks out of his pack and pulled them up his body. He opened the door and let May inside as he stepped out. Pikachu had already found a hot spring to swim in as he looked out. Ash folded his regular clothes and placed them into his pack, and decided to wait for May nearby while she changed. He looked around for a hot spring that wasn't full of old people, and did see one to the far side of the cave. It also looked large enough for all of their Pokemon to join, not counting Ash's Muck, of course, who wouldn't want to find himself diluted in the water, nor would anyone else enjoy its stench. A moment later, May stepped out of the changing room, dressed in her pink bikini with white frills. Ash had seen her on other occasions, such as when they found the hot springs with Lucario, and their trip under the sea with Manaphy. So, how do I look? May posed for him, placing one hand behind her head and another on her hip. Ash blushed. You look great, he said, looking away from her, smiling. I saw a spring over on the side of the cave that'd be big enough for us and our Pokemon. Why don't we head over to that one? Sure! She followed Ash to the area he pointed. She reached into her pack and pulled her Pokeballs, giving them a gentle toss into the air. They snapped open, allowing Eevee, Skitty, Munchlax, and Blaziken to leap into the water. Beautifly, however, decided to rest on May's bare head instead. Sorry, swallowing. Ash pulled out 6 Pokeballs and tossed them into the air as well. 5 opened, setting Sceptile, Totodile, Muck, Cyndaquil, and Ipom free. The 6th, however, fell to the ground, bouncing slightly. Curious, May picked it up, raising her eyebrows. What's wrong with this Pokeball, Ash? And he snatched it out of her hand. Oh, that's Pikachu's Pokeball, he told her. I must have grabbed it by accident. May looked over at Pikachu, who was warning Muck not to get into the hot spring. I always wonder where you kept Pikachu's Pokeball. I guess you have to keep it on you somewhere, huh? He nodded. Ever since we teamed up, Pikachu wouldn't go back inside. In order for Pikachu to be counted among my team of 6, I have to have his Pokeball somewhere. I just never use it. May smiled as Pikachu ran to their feet. Well, that's good. I'm sure Pikachu is happier outside anyway. She then bent down and picked up the Pokemon. Let's relax, Ash. We can talk while we soak. May stepped down into the water. Ash yelped for only a moment at the temperature, while May just let herself slip in. I always enjoy hot showers, so this isn't really a big change for me, she laughed. Ash took in a slow breath through his clenched teeth as he lowered himself into the water. I like a lukewarm shower, not one that'll boil your skin off. As Pikachu broke away from May to swim among the other Pokemon, Beautifly took off from May's head to talk with Muck at the side of the spring to keep him company. The sludge Pokemon was grateful, and gave the bug-flying type a large, messy hug. Beautifly countered by lifting Muck off her with Psychic, and telling him about personal space. Sceptile sat across the pool from Blaziken. Both fully evolved Pokemon glared at each other, making this relaxation into a contest. Sceptile and Blaziken began to lower themselves further into the hot water, testing their tolerance. Sceptile lowered his head into the water, but as his chin touched it, he found himself leaping up, much to his opponent's mirth. May decided to offer commentary. Blaziken's a fire type, she's gonna have more heat resistance than you, Sceptile. Sceptile growled at May and turned his furious gaze to Blaziken. No, Sceptile, Ash called, holding May holding onto his arm. We're here to relax. If you want to train, we'll do it later. Blaziken shot Sceptile a look of serves you right. Sceptile growled and turned away from him. Pikachu sighed, returned to floating amongst Ash and May's other Pokemon. Skitty had made herself comfortable on Munchlax's belly as the big eater floated lazily in the spring. Eevee was easily keeping her head above the water, so Pikachu decided to float closer. Ipom, however, wanted to be the center of attention, so she swam up to Pikachu and yanked his tail under the water with her short arms. Pikachu, in a knee-jerk reaction, let a short electric shock into the water. Fortunately for Ash, May, and the rest of the Pokemon, the electricity had dispersed and found a ground before reaching them. Unfortunately for Ipom, who was using her tail to keep her from sinking into the water, that ground was through her tail. Ash and May had a short laugh at the antics of their Pokemon. Hey, Ash. That's Sarl. That's the second time in a row I've done... Can I just say, this is the second time in a row that I've made this mistake? Anyway. May tugged on his arm. Hey, Ash? Ash looked over to her. What is it, May? I'm glad we could come here, she said. Ash smiled back at her. I am too. It's really relaxing. No, I don't mean to the hot spring, she replied. Oh, well, the hot spring is good too, but that's not the whole thing. What is it then? I'm glad we were able to come to the Sevii Islands, just the two of us. No Max, no Brock, no parents, no Team Rocket, I explained. We have time to explore our relationship without getting interrupted, and I want to spend every second that we're here doing stuff that we can enjoy together. Well, we do have the contest in my battle against the brain of the Battle Fortress. Yeah, and you'll be cheering for me while I'm in the contest, and I'll be cheering for you in the Battle Frontier. Or in the Frontier battle, May told him. We'll both enjoy it, just different parts. So we need to keep doing things we both enjoy, huh? Ash smirked. May was taken aback. Ash, what do you mean by that? Her question was answered as an arm wrapped around her waist and pulled her lips into a kiss. May was surprised at first, wrapped her arms around his neck. Ash wrapped his other arm around her back and began to kiss her more fervently. She let her eyes close as she took in the experience. She felt Ash breathing into her slightly parted lips, and her tongue took the initiative to begin exploring his mouth. She held her tongue against the top of his mouth as his tongue ran up and down hers. Taking a moment for them both to catch their breath, she allowed Ash's tongue to follow hers back into her own mouth, where she returned the favor by rolling his tongue against the roof of hers. May took in a short, quick gasp of air before closing her lips, forcing Ash to pull out from behind. Wow, May said, licking her lips. If that was just a sample of the things we're going to do on this trip, I think I'm going to really enjoy the Sevii Islands. Typical. What do you mean, Aiden? We call them women here. Ah. All right. And now this is actually the point where wait a minute. What happened? Oh gosh, what happened?
Who are you people?
Hi, Wheatley. How are you doing? Oh, the hot shower thing? Okay, actually, Aiden, I can I can relate to that.
But...
Yeah, hi, Wheatley. Thank you for the raid. How was your stream? What were you up to? And also, thank you for giving Wheatley a shout out. Bring the wheat to the wonderful streamer that is you. No, you, Wheatley.
I clicked out of that.
You doing good? All ready for a great story time? Oh yeah, because we are having a great story time right now for y'all. This is the sequel to Maze Crush, called Maze Crush Final Frontier. And wouldn't you know it, it's things are starting to heat up. I mean, I guess literally, but also like things are going to start heating up really fast here. The plot is going to start accelerating quite soon. You're doing some Persona 3 Reload? Oh, I still need to play P3R. Nearing the end of the game? Oh boy. Have you played the original? Like, have you played vanilla, FES, or P3P? I'm not gonna spoil anything for those who haven't played it, but my god, that ending is brilliant. That ending stays with you. It is really good. Yeah, I personally played P3P, so I played as the female protagonist, and I love her so much, man. You have not played any previous version of Persona 3. Okay, then I am not going to spoil anything for you, but let me tell you, it is a treat. And then, of course, you have to play the DLC after that, which I've heard is better than the original version from FES. Because the DLC is basically just a remake of the answer from FES. But yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. You just hit the new year and the vibes are immaculate, can confirm. Oh yeah, okay, so you've gotten to the doom and gloom portion. Oh boy. Like, you could hear Final Hours from Majora's Mask playing in the background. Oh boy. Yeah, it is a time. But just remember, mass destruction! Also, thank you for the hydrate. It's gonna be so good. Oh yeah, it is. It is. Oh yeah, I need to play P3R. But a part of me also wants to play it with a mod that lets you play with the female protagonist. Because as cool as the male protagonist is, I don't know. I just like the female protagonist. She's so cute and bubbly. She's definitely more like a cheerful person than the male protagonist is. So it is quite a contrast. You know, seeing the two. If only they brought her back. I know. And also, baby. Oh, wait. Since I have it open, I might as well. Come on. I might as well, right? But yeah, I really wish I brought her back. She is so cool. I love her so much. But yeah. So this is a. So hey, since I have a tab, an ultimate tab open for one of the songs in the soundtrack anyway, might as well move it to mass destruction, right? Since we're on the topic. But yes. So, everyone. So yeah, we are reading Maze Crush Final Frontier, the sequel to Maze Crush, which is an advanced shipping fanfiction. And in this one, after all the craziness that has happened, Ash and May find themselves on the Sevii Islands, hanging out, going on an adventure, and definitely nothing bad is gonna happen. Wink, wink. Absolutely nothing bad is gonna happen. You know, Lurpa, you'll be listening. Storytime, gonna be great. All right, sounds good. Wheatley, thank you again for the raid. I appreciate you dearly. Everyone, follow Wheatley.
You've done this.
She's great. Hi, Spoon. I can't believe you've done this. I can't believe I've done this either. Yeah, nothing bad at all. Just a typical vacation. Okay, so this is... So here is a... So here's an issue. I lost some of my sticky notes. So here's what I'm gonna do. I am going to go to settings if I can find it. Wait a minute, where's the settings? So I lost some of the sticky notes, so that means some of the songs are not marked where they should be. So what I need to do is I basically need to pull a backup of sorts. So as I do that, give me a moment. All right, so the most recent one. Oh god, this is not written in ISO 8601. Why would you do this, game? Or why would you do this? Okay, I want to word wrap that. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is... What the heck? Wait. This... Okay, the sidebar here is... Okay. Some weird things are happening here. Oh boy. Technical difficulties. Give me a second. Technical difficulties. Give me a second. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm just gonna do a string search. Oh. I'm gonna have string search. Wait, this is a JSON file. Wait, this means I can use the JSON ledger. Yo. Sorry, I'm just being a dork. Okay. Okay, so this is... Okay. Alright, so here's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so I'll use this as a reference. And we shall try to make do with what we have. Okay. Alright. Sorry for the wait there, but now we are ready to continue. Chapter 7. Out of the fire. After spending a while longer relaxing in the hot spring, Ash and May gathered their Pokemon and began heading down the road to Mount Emperor. I wonder how large a Ruby Celio needs, May thought out loud. I'd love a big piece of jewelry. Remember, May, Ash said to her. We're getting this for Celio's sake, not so you can have a necklace. Pika pika, Sparker added. I know, but I can still want one, right? She teased. Besides, an emerald necklace would probably suit me more anyway. Recharged from the relaxing dip in the hot spring, the couple made good time heading to the volcano. Ash smiled, hoping May wouldn't think about how the volcano was active. The afternoon sun shone in the trees. Ash was amazed at how cool it seemed after being in the hot springs for only an hour or two. Maybe everyone comes here in the earlier morning so they don't notice how hot it gets during the day, he joked to May, who stifled a giggle. The couple looked up to see the volcano looming overhead. May began to quiver as smoke and ash quietly puffed out of the crater. Ash, are you sure this is gonna be safe? She asked, placing her hands on one of his arms. Sure it is, May, he said, grinning. Now I just have to find the Quarry Master and ask him where the ruby is. As if on cue, 3 people scuttled up from behind the trees. Greetings, young man, one of the taller 2 smiled, rubbing his hands together. The man had short blue hair and a gray mustache. He wore sunglasses, a blue jumpsuit, and a yellow construction hat. And head handkerchief girl! The other 2 workers nodded and were dressed in the same way. Who are you guys? Ash raised one of his eyebrows. The trio surrounded Ash and May and began pushing them ahead. The smallest one, who only came out to May's knees, said, Don't you love boys worry about nothing? The third man, who had an odd body shape, nodded in agreement. We're here to help you. So you're going to take us to the ruby? May asked, trying to look over her shoulder. Sure, but first we have a rodent problem. What? Ash turned around. The first man, who was pushing Ash, grabbed Pikachu off the shoulder. Pikachu was stuffed into an orange container with a small window before Ash's eyes. The trio shoved Ash and May forward, causing them to fall into a concealed pitfall. Ugh! Ash called out. I should have figured it out by now. You should have, the third man smiled, but you didn't prepare for trouble. Go back to school with you and your double. Let's not jinx it, the smallest man grinned. At that moment, all 3 of them tossed off their disguises, revealing themselves to be James, Meowth, and Jessie. Team Rocket! May called out. Get back, Pikachu! Like, we're gonna take orders from a twerp, Jessie laughed, fixing her hair that had been concealed under her hard hat. And just for good measure, James walked over to the hall. He dropped a grate over it, barring Ash and May inside. That should keep you twerps trapped. Pikachu! Pikachu shouted, launching a volley of electric power inside his cage. Come on, Pikachu, Meowth laughed. You know you're trapped in there, and none of your electric attacks can get you out. Have to do something, May, Ash said, gritting his teeth at the grate that held him in the pit. We can't let him get away with Pikachu. I think I have an idea, May said, reaching for her Pokeball. Skitty, take the stage! She shouted as she tossed the Pokeball containing her kitten Pokemon. The ball snapped open, and May's pink normal type appeared. Nya! She called out after being set free. Skitty, freeze those bars with your blizzard! She shouted, pointing to the bars. Skitty opened her mouth and took in a deep breath. She shouted a huge Nya! At the very moment, a fierce wind full of whirling snow came out. The chilling blast shot through the bars, freezing them and frosting them open. All right, I get it, Ash said, grinning, reaching for a Pokeball. Cyndaquil, I choose you! In a flash, Ash's Johto fire type came out and flared up his back. Use flamethrower to break the bars! Cyndaquil opened his mouth and let spray a hot stream of fire. As the fire flowed around the bars, the contracting and expanding metal began to crack and finally snapped apart, freeing the couple. Team Rocket! The trio turned around for sneaking up to see Ash and May ready to combat them. Give us back our Pikachu! I knew I should have put a lid on them instead, James shuddered. I'll put a lid on you if I get Pikachu back! Jesse shot at him. Why don't you both put a lid on it? Meow said, turning around holding Pikachu's present. And get on Toy Patrol! All right, Jesse said, tossing a Pokeball at the twerps. Go Dustox! Go Cacnea! From the first of the two Pokeballs came a purple moth with green wings. Yellow compound eyes glared at Cyndaquil and Skitty as the two smaller Pokemon stepped up. She flexed her 4 small red arms as she approached her foes. Okay, I realize that the out-of-character indicator is still there. I am sorry about that. I should also state, I think this is the part where the tags stop, so I need to... I think I need to look ahead here. Actually, okay. Yeah, we can still continue this. Okay. Sorry, I want this to be good. Okay. Okay. All right. Where was I? Oh yeah. Yellow compound eyes glared at Cyndaquil and Skitty as the two smaller Pokemon stepped up. She flexed her 4 small red arms as she approached her foes. Next to her came a round green Pokemon. Her arms were lined with thorns that led up to her small body. A yellow flower bloomed on her head over her bright eyes. She turned around and leapt onto James's neck, causing the rocket trainer to yelp in pain as he pulled her up and sent her into battle. Cyndaquil, flamethrower! Skitty, use blizzard! Cacnea, use needle arc! Dustox, use the Psybeam! As Cyndaquil and Skitty launched their high-powered attacks, Cacnea's arms began to glow. She leapt at Skitty, but was caught in the kitten Pokemon's powerful Ice-type strike. Frozen solid, the Grass-type Cacnea flew backwards into Dustox's Psybeam. The ice shielded Cacnea from the ray, but it also caused her to fly through it, slamming into Dustox, knocking them both into Cyndaquil's flamethrower. The fire melted the ice, but neither Pokemon was able to battle after the combined assault of fire and ice. Now, Skitty, assist! Skitty's paw began to glow. The normal type swung her paw, and a huge, intense flame shot out from it. Cacnea and Dustox left out of the way, causing the white-hot flames to scorch Meowth and toss Pikachu's prison into the air. Was that Blaziken's overheat? Ash laughed, surprised. Great job, Skitty! May praised. Pikachu! Pikachu called from the falling container. Ash leapt up and caught Pikachu in the air. Working out the container a bit, he opened it up, allowing Pikachu to nuzzle his face freely. I'm glad you're okay, buddy. Ash laughed and smiled. Now we need to teach those guys a lesson. Pikachu leapt down on all fours, ready to strike. Why does it always end with a thunderbolt? Team Rocket all threw their arms around each other, cringing from the impending strike. Pikachu, finish him off with Thunderbolt! Pikachu leapt into the air, cheeks sparking. Massive arc of electricity erupted from his body and shot into the bodies of the Rockets and their Pokemon. Feeling the full force of the Thunderbolt, Team Rocket screamed in pain as the electricity caused ground beneath them to seem to explode, launching them into the air. Catching Pikachu is always the pits! Meow shouted his frustrations. You should be grateful that we're still alive after all these blast-offs, James added, discouraged. Why don't you both put a lid on it? We'll just have to try harder next time, Jessie angrily shouted at her teammates. Ah, about that! Looks like Team Rocket's blasting up again! They all shouted as they disappeared as a twinkle in the distance. Yeah, man, it's just a volcano. What could possibly go wrong? Yeah, exactly. The dang cat has blizzard. Hey, you have to admit, it's good type coverage. I mean, it's an unreliable move, but good type coverage. Am I right? Okay, I am trying. Okay, so this is going to be... Alright, I may have to just end up doing it from memory. This is a bit bit redonkulous. Okay, here we go. True, too bad the monster. Thanks. I mean... D&D, I guess? I don't know. Alright, here we go. Ash and May recalled their Pokemon and began to look for the real Quarry Masters. There were large construction machines in the clearing nearby, but it seemed that there were no people to be seen. Hey, Ash, May said, pointing towards the mountain face. There's an opening right there. Maybe we'll find more answers as to what's going on by looking inside. They peered into the cave's entrance, but it was too dark to see. Ash pulled for a Pokeball, tossed it gently, bringing Cynical back out. Under Ash's command, Cynical lit up his back and led the party into the cave. Ash and May couldn't believe what they saw. I do remember using this, so we're using this. Embedded in the regular-looking rocks were many tiny rubies. Ash approached the wall to get a better look. Whoa. Ash blinked in awe of the jewels. There must be a fortune in just this one chamber alone, May gasped, looking at the gemstones herself. Pikachu himself hooted in wonder. May turned away from the entrance. Hey guys, the cave goes in deeper. Anyone who might know anything might be further in. Well, we don't have any other leads, Ash said, shrugging. As the couple began to leave the chamber with Ash's fire type leading the way, something caught the boy's eye. A ruby, about the size of his thumb, sparkled in a way that drew his attention. It sat open on the ground, ready to be taken up by a passerby. He bent over and picked up the round, dirty gemstone. It wasn't refined, and thus had a dirty, rough appearance. It almost seemed like someone had tossed it aside after looking at it, and deciding that it wasn't good enough. I tried so hard to get my attention, Ash thought. I can't just leave it here. Hey, Ash, May said, walking ahead. What are you looking at? Nothing, he said, snatching the ruby into his pocket. He'd figure out what to do with it later. Now they needed to find the ruby Celio sent them in to get. Cynical led the way as Ash and May traveled further into the cave. As they lost sight of the entrance, May began to cling tightly to Ash's arm. It's getting pretty scary in here, Ash, she whimpered. I think we should go back and look for help. Don't be scared, May, Ash laughed. There's nothing to be afraid of in this cave. Peering ahead, Ash caught the sight of an orange glow emanating from a cavern. See, May? He pointed out. That light means somebody is probably there ahead of us. That's good, she gulped. What if they're not friendly? We did just see Team Rocket outside. This person might be their friend. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, May. Pikachu twitched his ears, trying to hear anyone ahead. Catching a faint noise, he leapt from Ash's shoulder and began running forward, past Cyndaquil into the darkness. Pikachu, where are you going? Well, won't Pikachu get lost in the dark? May was beginning to worry. Now was clinging painfully, tightly to Ash's arm. Pikachu will be fine. He can see in the dark. The smile on Ash's face was confident. Let's follow him, he said, turning to May. He began to dash ahead, but allowed Cyndaquil to keep the lead to light the way. Soon, Ash and May saw that the orange light wasn't from any man-made source. As they entered the cavern chamber, they found themselves on a cliff overlooking a pool of molten rock. May almost jumped out of her skin at the sight. She clenched her eyes shut and hid behind Ash, fearing the volcanic activity. A man-made cliff seemed to be made in the rock, creating a path around the molten lake. The path ended abruptly at a wall on the opposite side of the chamber. Pikachu stood close to a cloaked figure, whose back was against the wall. The electric type's cheeks sparked fiercely, and it growled at the figure. The figure was taller than Ash, and had a vaguely human outline. However, it was cloaked in a dark brown cape, wrapped around him to guard against the heat haze present in the room. 2 tufts of purple hair seemed to be poking themselves out of the hood worn by the individual. Ash began to run towards the figure to back up Pikachu, but May held him still. Ash, I don't want you to go in there. It's too dangerous. May shivered. Please. I have to help Pikachu, he said calmly. You can stay here, where it's safe. It won't take long to talk to this guy. Will you be careful? May sniffed, tears in her eyes. Don't cry, May. Ash put his hand on her cheek. I'll be fine. This guy probably has the ruby anyway. Just stay put, okay? May nodded and gave Ash a quick hug. I love you, Ash. I just don't want you to be burned to a crisp. Chuckling, Ash pulled out of the hug, saying, I'll come back in one piece, May. I always will. Pika-Pee! Pikachu shouted from his position, holding the figure in check. After recalling Cyndaquil, Ash began running to Pikachu's position, leaving May in the entranceway. All right, buddy, I'm here. Pika! He nodded, his gaze never leaving the cornered person. Who are you? Ash shouted to the figure. And what are you doing here trying to take that ruby? It doesn't belong to you! I never wanted to meet you again under circumstances such as these. A booming voice came from the cloak. This place is a poor location for a rematch. Ash blinked. Rematch? He turned his head to May, who hadn't seemed to catch any of their words. She must be out of earshot, he thought. Yes, Cloak repeated. Our rematch. You beat me last time. Who are you? Ash retorted. When have we battled before? Forgive my manners. The cloak bowed. For you to recognize me, I must discard this garb. And with that, his arm pulled on the right shoulder of the cloak, and ripped it off, tossing it into the magma. Before Ash stood a man he recognized. Even though May was far back, she too recognized him. The man wore a bodysuit, stretching over to his now bare shoulders. It was purple around his torso, and white along his legs. White shoulder fins jutted out of the outfit, both connected with a gold brooch attached to his chest. A purple tail, of sorts, much like a bird's tail, sat on the ground behind him, attached to his back, along with 6 fairy wings. He stood in firm purple boots. His face seemed more crazed than Ash remembered. The purple hair that poked from the hood now fell backwards. The man's sideburns curled around his cheeks, surrounding a growing smirk. On his head sat a gold crown, designed to appear as half a Pokeball to match his gold choker around his neck, and the gold bracers on his arms, under one of which he held a ruby about the size of Ash's backpack. Ash stepped back, his eyes widening. No. No way. Yes, it is I, the man said, smirking. Tucker, Domace, and Frontier Brain. Ash blinked. What are you doing here? The news said you were gone! The news can be wrong if they don't know the full story. Tucker huffed back. But what do you want with that ruby? Did Celio send you to get it? Celio? Domace responded. I know not of any Celio. I'm here on someone else's prerogative. Then who sent you? Who wants the ruby? Tucker's gaze narrowed to the boy. I'm afraid I can't let you know. And now, to make my exit. Tucker leapt into the air, far above Ash's head, and landed near the doorway, which was barred by May. May gasped, stumbling back. How did you jump that high? How's with the package? He smirked, stepping past her. May ran back in front of him. I'm not gonna let you get away with the ruby! She pulled out a Pokeball out from her pack and tossed it into the air. May's Blaziken appeared before the Frontier Brain. He began stepping back. Your Blaziken looks powerful, he said with a smirk. But it is tactics that win battles, not power. Stepping into the chamber as Ash began running towards the brain, he dropped a Pokeball of his own. A large blue Pokemon came out. He had large fins on his head above his orange eyes, and a much larger fin served as his tail. Orange sections of his arms seemed to be tempered to make more powerful moves and retaliate full force. Swah! The large Pokemon scared Ash backwards. Now, if you don't let me pass, little lady, I'm afraid that my Swampert will be forced to break this cliff with his dynamic punch. At the best, he'll be stuck and require rescue. At worst, he'll fry like a worm in boiling oil. Tucker stated plainly to May, his look of fear in her face. As you can see, I hold the cards now. Let me pass, or watch him die. May began to raise her Pokeball up to recall Blaziken, but saw that Ash was making a move. As the girl lowered her ball again, Ash flung a Pokeball out towards Tucker's Swampert. Sceptile Leaf Blade! The ball snapped open, letting Ash's first Pokemon loose. The blades on the powerful Grass-type's forearms began to glow, and using them, he slashed into Swampert's chest, knocking him backwards into Tucker. You're not gonna get away with stealing, even if you're a Frontier Brain, Ash shouted triumphantly. Tile! He smirked, placing his twig in his mouth. We see how many cards you hold now, Tucker, May taunted him, back as the brain came to his feet. Don't give up and give us the ruby. We don't want to have to battle anymore. Tucker grunted. You still fail to understand, little girl. A brilliant tactician always has a backup plan. He turned to his Pokemon as he came to his feet. Now, Swampert, use Earthquake! May was once again scared. Earthquake? In a cave like this? May, get back! Ash shouted. Swampert placed all four of his limbs onto the ground. He grunted slightly and pressed against it. Suddenly, it began to shake, and the magma began to boil. As May ran backwards into the cave, the entranceway fell in on top of her, catching her leg. Blaziken was only a few steps ahead as the collapse began. Blaziken, please! Help me quick! May's voice was full of panic. Blaziken nodded, going to work to begin pulling the rocks up May's trapped leg. Inside the cavern, however, things were getting worse for Ash. He had heard May's screams, but he was now hanging for his life. The earthquake collapsed the cliff on which he stood. His mind began racing. Pikachu was on his back. Sceptile stood on the cliff above, battling Tucker's Swampert. In his Pokeballs were Cyndaquil, Totodile, Aipom, and Muck. Aipom! Pikachu! Get Aipom's Pokeball and call her out! She can help us up! Pika! He began to climb down to Ash's belt to grab Ash's Pokeball. Pikachu lost his footing, however, and began to fall. Pika-Pee! The Pokemon shouted in panic as it began to fall towards the fiery pit. Pikachu! Ash dropped hold of the cliff in one of his hands and caught the electric type before he fell to his death. Sceptile? The Pokemon asked to make sure his trainer was alright. I'm fine, Sceptile! Just keep battling! Ash shouted. However, as soon as those words left his mouth, his grip on the cliff began to fade. As the rock slipped between his fingers, the recent events of his life began flashing before his eyes. Sceptile, tell May that I'll always love her! After he said those words, he began to fall, Pikachu in his arms, towards the magma. Do I? Don't I? Do I? Don't I? Do you think we should end it here, everybody? It is 11:30. It is 11:30. And I imagine... Don't you dare do this to me right now. Well, the mark of a good storyteller is to always keep the audience wanting for more. And I think it would probably be in service to PikamasterADV if I ended it here. I love this job. Listen. You knew what you were getting into, Aiden. You knew what you were getting into. I told you that this one would be fraught with love, danger, and perhaps a bit too much water. And surely, the suspense and mystery caught your attention as well. I'm as bad as the Frontier. Don't put that evil on me! I'm nowhere near as bad as Tucker. I actually have good reasons for doing what I'm doing. I mean, what? I'm kidding. But yes, it is actually quite late. So it is actually probably for the best that we end stream here. I don't want to go so late that people end up missing it. And I figured, Aiden, that this would probably be around the time you would probably say, okay, well, my guy, it's time for me to head out. So, like, I want to avoid that at all costs. So. But, listen. I don't know what's going on tomorrow. It could be team practice. If team practice is tomorrow, then I won't be able to do this. But, if it's not, we could continue from there. Next time on Mochi Storytime. Assuming it's not next time on Big Mochi. Next time on Big Mochi. Assuming it's not team practice. You'd be up all night listening. Yeah, actually, that's probably the other thing. It's also for your own good and mine as well. I already get bad insomnia by virtue of my genetics, and 2, my antidepressants. So it would just make things worse. So yeah, probably for the best if I don't. But yeah, next time on Mochi Storytime, we continue Ace Crush Final Frontier with Chapter 8, Silver Lining. But until then, let's see if anyone is streaming right now. Let us see. Oh. You know what? I haven't rated Kiona in a while. How about we have some fun with some Mario Party Jamboree? Keon is currently playing Mario Party. He's a super cool dude. Great commentator. DVC announcer voice. The captured Frontier brain seems safe as can be, but what is his motive for taking the ruby? Will Blaziken be able to get May out from the rubble? And will Ash be saved from his fall? Find out next time on May's Crush Final Frontier. Yeah, thank you everyone for coming to watch and listen. I am so glad y'all came. This is super cool. It's super cool starting this off. Super duper cool. And I hope that cliffhanger is nice and nice and juicy for you. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Of course, Eden. Of course, of course. So we'll be rating Keon. He's playing Mario Party Jamboree right now. He's playing with. Oh, he's playing with Zephyr. That's neato. That's crazy. I guess I'll say it as hi to Zephyr too because I haven't seen. He's a fellow ink slinger. So yeah. Enjoy the night, everybody. I will talk to y'all next time. Hopefully sooner than you think. Take care, everybody.